Hello everybody and welcome in to our latest live broadcast and build video. My name is Kerry Holzman.
And I'm Mitch Morrison.
Well, it's great to have Mitch back doing another build, and this one's going to be a little nostalgic because we're going to build in the Train PC case I picked up back in 2012, 2013.
Ooh.
This is a computer case made by Lian Li, and it's no longer available for sale. I do have a link to the product page at Newegg, which shows it's not available, but if you're interested in the specs of it. There were two different versions of this that were made. One actually moved. It had an electric motor.
Okay.
It had pieces of track I'm not sure if it went in a circle, and it would blow steam out the top. But I don't know how, with all the cables attached to the back of it,
Right.
how that would actually work. So I didn't pay for that one. That was a lot of money. This was around $250, $260, like $229 plus tax. So a little over $250 10 years ago. And it's a little dusty. It's been sitting for quite some time. I had gutted the parts out of it. But I left the power supply, which is still fine, should be fine. And basically you've got this part, this component, the coal car. That's where your Mini-ITX board is gonna go. And you'll see the I/O shield back here. Right, it starts to look familiar. Yep, these windows are see-through. You can see the case, or the motherboard rather, inside. Power supply goes into the main engine, where the power supply, it's a mini, a small form factor, SFX power supply in there. And there's a little DVD drive. It's a slim slot loading DVD right here that was installed originally when I did the video. Okay. And it has a special adapter I had to buy because it's got the connector that laptops use. And I had to break that out into the connector regular motherboard use. And so those cables run from the back of the DVD, and then of course all the power supply cables through this little, if you look carefully, there's a little tunnel right there. Yep. And you run those through into this car. And this right here is your power button. And then you've got two USB 3.0 ports here. And then it's got this little piece of track, and it came with these little plastic pieces that went on the front end so that it wouldn't roll off. I'll have to look around for those. But I've been waiting for the right person for this because there's a lot of train enthusiasts. I just haven't really met any in the world of PCs. Come to find out, Peter Laycock works on trains. And he's been such a important benefactor to the channel. I've been able to do so many more videos and upgrade camera equipment to the things that I was going to work my way towards, and he made it possible for me to just jump right into that. And combined with folks like John, Jack, Wilson, and other frequent contributors, it has really sped things up to getting me where I want to go, including our new camera, which I think has a pretty good picture today. And I'll be playing around with some more cameras coming up in future videos. I've got 4 computers shipped this week. That's pretty much shipped one on Monday, shipped one on Tuesday, shipped one on Wednesday, and shipped one yesterday. Okay. That's a lot for one person to do. I've got one more I got to get out on Monday. I've got another one going locally. I'll probably get out Tuesday. And then I've got 4 systems for my brother that he doesn't need them till December, but I might as well just put them together and get them out of here so I can finally have some breathing room. And I, of course, still have other systems to sell. I'm making a dent in the place.
I'm seeing it, yeah.
Well, you haven't seen the bedrooms where it's all tucked away. However, there's still there's still over a dozen systems here. If you're interested in purchasing one of these systems from me, send me an email. My email address right here, I will put that on the screen now. Now, I'm going to ask everybody to please use that email address for business inquiries. I want to make sure my customers can always reach out to me at that email address, and people who want to be my customers can reach out to that email address. What I don't want, and what I will just erase, are anything regarding personal questions, personal help, unless you're already a customer. This is a business email, and so anything that's not business related goes right in the trash can, and that's only because I'm so pressed for time. Even sometimes the folks who are my customers think it's taking me too long to get back to them. So I need to move everything out of my way so we try and make sure that those people who are paying are getting the service they expect. So for that reason and that reason alone, if I can help you out and you want to reach out, that's the email address, and that's how you can reach me. Now, with today's build, we're doing this for our good friend, Peter Laycock. I know I've always said I wouldn't ship outside of the United States, but Peter is somebody I will absolutely break that rule for. It's because of him we were even able to do this at all, quite frankly. Peter was one of the original contributors back in the original Threadripper build where you and I met.
Yeah.
And you were my
volunteered
to be my cameraman.
Yeah.
Today, what we're going to build for Peter, first of all, this is not a good case for something that you want to overclock in, right? The airflow in this is not ideal. So we don't want to put anything in here that's going to require a beefy power supply, or a liquid cooler isn't going to work, for example. So what we've got is a 12600K, which is a really good value in processors right now. And for the first time ever, DDR5. This is a 32 gig kit. This is 5200 megahertz speed. So not the fastest, but also not the fastest CPU. 12600K is nothing to sneeze at. That's a Core i5. So again, T-Force Vulcan DDR5 RAM. We're going to put a Samsung 980 Pro, not the 970 EVO. Okay. We want to go Gen 4 as fast as possible. We don't have a lot of room here in this case for a cooler. As you can see, it's pretty shallow. So we've got the Noctua NHL9i. This is for socket 1700. A viewer sent me one they weren't using, but it's only for socket 115X.
And they consider that low profile.
This is a very low profile, sort of a pancake, and it's so wide you probably won't even get to see the motherboard once it's on there. So that'll be interesting. And for the motherboard, a Mini-ITX ASUS ROG Strix. This is the B660i. The I stands for ITX. They call it a gaming Wi-Fi. All the Mini-ITX boards have built-in Wi-Fi. By their very nature, they only have one slot, and that's really for your video card. Obviously, we're going to be using onboard video on this build, and I can't imagine you could really put much in there in the way of a video card. Maybe a 1660, something real small will fit in there, but then you'd have to get a beefier power supply. I think that's only a 450 watt power supply we've got in there. Now, I will tell you, this has been sitting over at Studio A, which is very, very dusty. It's across the street from a farm. So that house is always very dusty, and it can sit for 3 days, and it'll look like it's been sitting for 3 months. I've been wiping down the dust on this every time I notice more, and I know there's more I haven't found yet. So be prepared when we get to this part of it and I open it up. It's going to be pretty dusty in there. I've got a damp washcloth, and I just wipe it down. And then there's a lot of little nooks and crannies that dust likes to get into on this, from the little grooves on the wheels to all the little corners and crevices all throughout, in this little chimney around it. And it can be really, really hard to get in there. It's grabbing a Q-tip and wiping it down with a Q-tip. It is pretty dusty. Whatever dust you see in today's video, that's after I cleaned it. Just keep that in mind, because this thing was dusty. Yeah. And I still have the box for it, so I can properly pack it and make sure that it's going to arrive in Scotland without a problem. I'm super excited to have this opportunity to do something for Peter, because he's done so much for us, honestly. He's done more for this channel than any other individual, and he's done it for years. I haven't even so much as met the man. So that's on my bucket list. I got to go to Scotland, and I got to give that man a big hug. He's incredible. So shout out and a thank you to Peter Laycock for all he's done, and for today's video, and for letting me do something for him. I'm so excited to do this. You out of practice? What do you think? You up for it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A couple of shots out for some contributors, and speak of the devil. There's Peter Laycock with a 50-pound contribution and an Amazon gift card. He says, good evening, Carrie and Mitch and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland, where the temperature in Edinburgh is 58 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. You want to shout out this way?
Very nice. Am I wearing my short eyeballs? 3D everything
Yeah.
with a 20-pound,
$20.
$20. I said I was wearing my short eyeballs. $20 contribution. Thank you.
Super chat. And another one.
Oh, and a $5 again from 3D everything.
What's he say? Can you read it?
Good morning, Peter, Carrie, and Chad. I guess I made a mistake and my message was not included in the previous
In his previous contribution.
Okay,
Well, sorry
thank you.
about that, but again, appreciate your support. Roy Starman with a $20 contribution said, here's some more cash so you can eat tonight. Hey, you can think about what we're going to eat.
Yeah.
We've had all these storms.
Yeah,
It's raining
terrible.
last night. It's supposed to rain. Well, it's good though.
Yeah,
Temperatures-
muggy though.
It went from 102 to 72 like
That I did.
last night.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was driving around. Except the lightning was frightening me in the car. You
A
know,
lot of thunder. and lightning.
lot. Yeah.
There's our good pal Rick Lakes with a $10 super chat contribution saying hello, Carrie and Mitch.
Hello, Rick.
Steve McCurt with a $10 contribution. Hey, Steve, didn't we build a computer? Can we build a computer for Steve?
That sounds, yeah.
If I built a computer for you, how's it working? I can't remember anymore. Everything's so crazy.
Is this weigh a lot? I'm
Pick it
gonna.
up.
You want me to pick?
I'd say it weighs about 4 pounds, 6 pounds.
Oh yeah, without the guts.
Well, I mean,
That's
it's
at
got
least.
a power supply in it, which is a pretty heavy component.
I would say that's over 6, but
8?
yeah, something like between 6
Under
and
10?
Under 10. I know that because
And with parts in it, it'll probably be under.
not that I use 10-pound dumbbells at the gym.
What'd you call me? Martin Wolford says hello and happy Friday to everybody and welcome to Petticoat Junction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like a. Remember that old TV show? Let's see. Scott Hallen and Carrie, good to see you. Fully trained and on track with his PC.
That's a
I
good
just
one.
hope Mitch isn't a sleeper. LOL. Marco says toot toot. Oh, there he is talking Italian again.
Okay.
Stealth Mode says hello. There's Lawn Dog. And Dustin Fuller, Terry Zanders, and Tommy John, Kenny Whidden, Jim Barksdale. There's Stan Ristoff. Always good to see you guys. Dennis Paulson and Robert Fontaine. Sounds like an actor's name.
Yeah.
Wasn't that La Fontaine?
Yeah.
Or was it a character somebody played? There's Ricky B. Ricky got the black and red computer that was shipped to him out there in California.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, I always tell people when I ship the computers, take the side panel off, make sure nothing is shifted or fallen off. Like the RAM modules can become unseated, the little connectors to the front port umbilicals can come off, they can become dislodged. And in his case, he opened it and he said that the CPU cooling fan on that side, the Mugen 5, had come loose. And he just snapped it back on, everything else looks good, and he's fired it up and he's totally happy, everything arrived perfectly besides that. Just interesting because that rarely happens, and shipping from here to California, I just wouldn't expect anything. And almost universally, when I ship to California, there's an issue. I ship to New York, they're like, oh yeah, I opened it up, it was perfectly fine. Although I did ship that one with that, I think that one had a 1660 video card. I was a little nervous. Let's see, what else? Chris L. says, it's great pick in sound today. Oh, thank you. I've been continuing to play with it. So hopefully we'll continue to make some more improvements as we march forward. I am trying to get everything wrapped up for my vacation that I do every, about mid-September. I'll go to Michigan gone for 3 weeks out in the Grand Rapids area. And that's my time to do my digital detox. And I'll play around with some of the new cameras while I'm out there just for fun. And, probably make a couple little videos like I do just to say hello and share the beauty of the place and the calmness and the serenity of it all. There's our good friend Bill Leatherland. Bill watches us all the way from England. I haven't seen Bill in a while. It's always good to see Bill. And our good friend Thomas Backenstow. I think is Thomas the one that has the little red and black?
Yeah, he's got the one that we built. Yeah, the
there's
little,
two Thomases, but more Tom and there's Thomas Backenstow. They're both Thomas.
But that was the one that I really liked, that little red one, that you sent him.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Broke my heart a little bit to set it up. But, I've got so many computers here.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? There's Wilhelm Gordon says hello. And DJ Lion, Arto Resenen, and Ron Barnish all jumping into our chat. 55 staying dude wants to know where his popcorn is. Oh, this is definitely a popcorn show. I got your popcorn right over here. Let me go grab his popcorn for him.
Ah.
Oh, I don't have the right feed up. I'm still looking at the YouTube feed, which is a little bit delayed.
Delayed, yeah.
Let's go back over to my OBS. I will get a second monitor. I promise you, a second monitor is coming, so I quit having to do this over and over and over again. But yeah, we got your popcorn ready. Now, you see I've got the ceiling fan on up here, and it's because it's hot. But if that's bothering you guys, if you have a preference, you want me to turn the ceiling fan off, I will suffer in the heat for you if it's distracting. It's not really having the flicker effect that it was having on the other camera, which is another great improvement on this camera. But you can see the reflection right over Mitch's head there. That's another thing. I'd like to get that neon sign back over to the manufacturer here and have them replace that with a matte black, and also have them make it much, much dimmer. Even though this camera handles it better, it's still way too bright in my opinion. So yeah, is that enough popcorn for you? This popcorn here is just $27.95. No, Harkins, our local chain here, movie theater chain, sells this to take home. I think it's 14 bucks. Or no, it's $12 and then $2 for the little butter oil stuff that's not butter.
Synthetic Pennzoil.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you eat this, you don't have to change your oil for 3,000 miles.
It's good for your gizzard though. All right.
Steve Mercur got the hot dog build. That's what it was. He says, I have the hot dog build, and then in the case that was hard to build, and it's working great. It speeds right along, and it controls my ham radio station fine. Thank you for the update, Steve. I knew his name sounded familiar. I've been doing so many of these. I've lost track of who's who and what I've done for who. Well, and I'm sure that's only going to get better as I age.
Well, hopefully the ceiling fan won't blow my toupee.
Well, hopefully it won't.
I had it glued extra tight here today.
Did you?
So, yeah.
I have a toupee that makes it look like I've got a bald spot in the middle. It's new trending.
Okay.
Thing. You know how people like scar up their eyebrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To look tough? Yeah.
So now that's the new thing. Chris's channel of technology contributes $1.99 via Super Chat, and he says, I love Toto. Great band, and I love you guys too.
Yeah, my favorite band. One of 50 shirts. I told Kerry I'm stopping at 50, and he's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah, we'll see. You dying? Because
no.
I don't think that's the only way you're stopping.
Right.
Scott Hallinan with $5, New Zealand. He says, great to see you and Mitch. Here's some money for a Coca-Cola to keep you on track. Oh, we both just had one before the show.
Little one though.
Yeah, we have the little cans. Because you know what? I think I only drank half of it.
I don't need the caffeine.
Oh, I do. I need as much caffeine as possible today. There's our good friend, Marty Yoel. I kept meaning to call Marty this week just to say, hey, what's up? And I kept forgetting. I'm like, oh, I should do that today. I've got some time. And then I forgot. So hopefully during the week, this coming week, Marty, I'll give you a call. I got nothing to say, but just to say hello. It's been a little while since we talked.
Say what's up.
Yeah. There's Jose Del Nito joining us there in the chat. Luke Green says that fan doesn't bother me at all. Stay cool. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Irving T joining us all the way from France. Joins us there in the chat room. There's Dave Hall. He says all minor issues. Don't change anything. All right. It should be slightly improving each broadcast as I make little refinements in the days between. I've been getting back into camera mode, and I'm going to be sort of trying to really exploit the best image quality that I can. I still don't think I'm there yet with this camera, but I do feel like it's getting better and better and better. So until I get it dialed in, I think it's really, really good though, for now. Good enough for now. And Marco says, hey, my eyebrow scar is real. Yeah, well, you're a trendsetter, what can we say? Ricky says, if I wasn't doing last minute planning and packing for a trip, I would have given a full report on how much I love my new PC, handcrafted by Kerry Holzman. Hey, that's awesome, but you just got it. So well, we're off to a good start. I want to hear that 6 months from now or a year from now, how you're still in love with it. That's my goal. Ron Varnish says, I became a member 2 weeks ago. I finally got to see a live show. Ron, you can still watch the shows as a non-member or non-moderator, and you're already a moderator, so regardless, you would have been able to watch the live show even as a non-moderator, as a viewer. You just would not have been able to interact with me if you weren't blue or green. So the blue means you're a moderator, the green means you're a member, and some of the blue also are moderators as well. So, I mean, that's really cool that people who don't have to become a member do it anyway to support the channel. That means a lot. That says a lot about who you are as a person, and makes me know that, you know, that I'm focused on folks like you versus the people who just are trying to disrupt. So again, means a lot to me. Thank you guys. There's Frankie McAvoy joining us from Waterford in Southern Ireland. Oh, Waterford Crystal. DJ Lion said, I'm happy you're using a case by Lian Li. I've liked the quality of Lian Li cases. They've been pricey, but they're well made. He says, I need to stop watching streams on an iPad. Freaking YouTube inserts an ad 18 minutes into the stream. Yeah, I'm not doing that, but if you sign up for YouTube Premiere, is it Premiere? It's like $12 a month, and you'll never have to watch any ads, and you can download videos for offline watching, which, by the way, I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with people downloading my content where I'm not making any money from it, right? But that's YouTube's rules, and I have no say in it. And if you are a Premiere, you know, you want to pay the $12 a month, you can sign up and get 3 months for free. And then if you don't cancel at the end of the 3rd month, then your billing will start monthly. So even if you want to try it for 3 months, see if you like it. I was too cheap to pay for it, and I was really getting under my skin with the ads. It used to just be 1 ad, now it's like 2. Sometimes they're under 15 seconds, in which case you cannot skip them. So I'm like, okay, I'll pay the $12, enough.
You got me, yeah.
Ian McGregor says, just hopped aboard. He says, hello everyone from Newcastle in the UK.
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
Here, yeah.
Team Compurepo says, hello all, and Carrie, it's Friday late evening in Flanders, Belgium. Looking forward to another educated stream. Well, it's definitely another stream.
Edumacated? All right.
Well, hidey ho,
yeah.
neighborino. That's Flanders. David Chandler says, Carrie, check your PayPal. Jim says, I have a better solution. I'll use a laptop with an ad blocker. I find those ad blockers, they don't really work very well. Sometimes they work and then they stop. YouTube's always changing it. And the other issue is some videos you watch are nothing but big ads. So you're skipping the ads in front of the big main 20 or 30 minute ad that a lot of the big tech YouTubers are paid by big manufacturers to basically make commercials for them. If your ad blocker truly worked, it wouldn't let you watch those videos. I see Anthony Remus joining us from Remus Computer Solutions out there in Las Vegas. He says, I have YouTube Red, or whatever they call it now. Used YouTube, not signed in, and ads were so annoying. Yeah, for sure. Boy, there's Larry out in California said, Mitch, your shirt should read toot toot for today's build instead of toe.
Yeah.
Boy,
Vegas got a lot of rain, didn't it, over these last couple of weeks?
I haven't paid attention to what Vegas got. But given how the whole Lake Mead is just about dry,
yeah,
I'd say they haven't had enough rain.
Right.
Anthony says, Carrie, you might like the new Fractal Focus 2 case. It's modern looks without the power supply shroud. But I like power supply shrouds. What's it called? Fractal Focus 2. Let's take a quick look over here. Fractal Focus 2. So this looks pretty generic here. It's not coming up for me. Here we go. Yeah. It just looks like a regular bland case. Where's the power supply go? Well, it shows the power supply goes at the bottom. Well, that's kind of dumb. Without a power supply shroud, that glass panel goes all the way to the bottom, and it's going to expose all the wiring. I don't. Why did you think I would like that? I'm usually on board with Anthony's recommendations, but I don't like. You couldn't be further from what I like there, Anthony. But try again. Don't let that discourage you from making other suggestions. All right, let me check the phone here, and then we can get started with today's build. How about that?
Nice.
Well, Bennett Russell says, I've been laid up, so I've missed many of your live videos. Amy, a member, not able to chat. I'd have to know where what your screen name is, and we can verify that if you're a moderator here. But thank you for the $25 Amazon gift card. You can use that email address that I had on the screen there, Bennett, and let me know what your YouTube username is, and we can make sure that you're blue in here. Colin Longstaff has sent $11.44 via PayPal. He says, hi everyone, I've been looking forward to this build for Peter, as have I. $10 comes in from David Chandler. Right on, thank you, David. David watches us in South Africa.
Wow.
Kevin Russell says, is that build still available? And if so, how much? I might think about it. Well, you know, Kevin, I have over 24 builds. So when you say that build, I don't know which one you're talking about. But if you are interested in a particular build, you let me know what your budget is and what you intend to use the computer for. And then I can see if I can put together something here from parts I already have to accomplish that within your budget. If you're wanting a gaming machine and you only have $500, I can tell you right now, it ain't gonna happen. But let me know what it is you're looking for. In other words, how the machine's gonna be used, and how much money you have to spend, and we'll see if we can put something together for you. And okay, UPS is telling me I have some packages from Amazon coming in. Boy, I got a lot of email in just a few minutes.
Well, aren't you popular?
He says the 1000D build. I don't know what a 1000. I don't think there's such a thing as a 1000D. So again, if you let me know either the date of the video, send a link to the video you're referring to. I'm not familiar with anything called a 1000D, but also let me know what your budget is and what you intend to use the PC for, so I can make sure that you're going to be happy with the purchase and not be upset that it's not going to be able to do potentially what you need it to do, or not have enough storage that you need, or whatever the case may be. So we'll handle that in email, in private messaging or private emails. So appreciate the inquiry, and we'll talk. Paul said, I've been a member here for 3 months and 6 days. Well, right on, Paul. If there's a Windows 10 key, I'm happy to provide any member who's been a member for 3 months, and I have not yet provided you with a gift. If you want a Windows 10 Pro license key, my only request is that you use that license key preferably within a week or 10 days of when I send it to you, just in case there's any problem. I want to make sure I can remedy that if you wait beyond 30 days before you use it, and then you have a problem with it. Well, I wasted my money buying you that key if it took you that long to activate it, and now I don't get any support after that. So if you're ready to use a Windows 10 key and you would like a key, Windows 10 Pro, for free, and you've been a member for a minimum of 3 months, reach out to me and let me know at the email address that was earlier on in the show, which I think I have. Do I have DVR mode on today? No, DVR mode's not on today. Okay, well, that's going to force everybody to stay with us. And of course, the show will be fully available and rewindable once we're done today and YouTube has time to process it, which usually takes a couple of hours after the end of the stream. A few more contributions to shout out here. Tommy John with $1.99. Xrod666 contributes a $10 super chat contribution. He says, "Oh, cool, the train build. I remember watching the original series on that thing. I got one for myself years ago, but sadly I sold it." Scott Hallinan contributes in super chat $5 New Zealand dollars. "Great to see you and Mitch. Here's some money for a Coke and to keep you on track." Chris's Channel of Technology with $1.99 says, "I love Toto. Great band. Love you guys too." Well, thank you. Steve Merker with a $5 contribution. That's the one I think I read. He says, "I have the hot dog build in the case that was hard to build in. It's working great, speeds right along, and controls my ham radio station fine." Well, thanks, guys. Again, Peter Laycock, 3D Everything, Roy Starman, Rick Lake, Steve Merker, Tommy John, Xrod666, Scott Hallinan, and Chris's Channel of Technology. Thanks for continuing to support the channel here and what we're doing. Now, I guess what I need to do is move this aside, and we're going to grab the camera girl.
Watch your back now.
Yeah, this is nothing. Just wait till we're done. All right, let me put this somewhere. I have nowhere to put this, Mitch. You'd think with all the computers I got rid of, I'd have some room, but it's still computer parts everywhere. Now, for those of you who haven't been watching what we've been doing lately, I have been experimenting with some different ideas for the close-up camera. I also picked up a GoPro Hero 10, and there's an app on the phone there's an app on the PC, and what you do is you connect the GoPro Hero 10 to the app on the smartphone, and then some software on the computer called Action Cam 2 PC. It's like $130 for this. And then what it does is it connects to the phone, and then the GoPro is completely wireless and can be streaming live on OBS. Unfortunately, it's got a massive 3-second delay. So that becomes unusable for what I was thinking of how I was going to use it. Although I have some other ideas. But yeah, 3 full seconds. If I rotate the camera, 1, 2, 3, then you guys will see the camera move, and it's like, oh, the audio is going to be so far out of sync. But it's interesting to see how far they've come with these GoPros. They're doing 4K, 60 frames a second. They're already waterproof now. There's no external enclosure you have to put them in. So there's other ideas I have for using it. But for now, for the PC builds, this was a great suggestion. There's a gentleman named Marcus Pix, Markuspix, and I stumbled on his video when I was looking up the Canon XF605, which is a professional camcorder. And he has a video titled comparing the XF605 to this little point-and-shoot compact camera. They both have a 1-inch sensor. This one actually has a higher megapixel count, and out of the box, just turning it on, its default settings, they really have a superior picture. On the other hand, this is not as granular of picture changes. It's sort of, there's big steps. It's not as fine. The fine tuning of the picture is not as fine as on this camera. However, I think you'll agree it shoots pretty good. It's about a $1,200 camera. I think this came out about 2 years ago. It's got the same 1-inch image sensor and super lightweight. And we're going to use this for a while now on the close-ups because the clarity on it is incredible.
Razor
I
sharp.
still cannot believe. One of the problems you'll have with shooting video on a compact camera like this is they often will overheat after about 10 or 15 minutes. But we're not recording in the camera, which should reduce some of the heat generation. And I've got it at 24 frames a second, so it's also not processing the images as fast as at 30. I don't think you guys will see any difference. If anything, 24 almost looks a bit more cinematic. So, camera girl, get to work. Chop, chop. All right, let's, I want to do this all day today. I'll be moving back and forth with this mouse. All right, let's activate camera 2. There we go. Come on over.
Yeah, that is sharp.
Well, wait till you see the detail in the close-ups. So we're going to start with the motherboard. What? He never starts there. Look at all the dust. Wait a minute. There's like so much dust.
Can I open it? Can I?
Please.
Can I get it?
Oh, we got to crack the seal there. I got serrated razor blades. Look at that.
Ooh.
Fancy stuff.
Cut away from you. Cut away from you.
Bob R. with a $10 super chat contribution says it's training day. TGIF, Carrie, and Mitch. Hey, back at you, Bob. Thank you so much. Stan Ristov with £1.79. Is the camera girl ready for training day? Absolutely.
What have we got in the box here? Ooh, we got that.
You can take this and put it inside.
What else have we got? We got your usual suspects here. Cables, I/O shield.
I'm going to step away for just a second.
Okay.
Please continue to show the contents.
Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of this, and we'll open this up. Oh, was not sealed, was it? No. That's quite interesting. All right. Here we go. Ooh. Very nice. I love these tiny builds. I know they can be a pain for cable management, but I really like it. What have we got here? We've got a HDMI, DVI, plenty of USB, 3.0s, 2.0s. Is that a USB type C here? Yes, yes, yes. Our antennas, yeah. Plenty of, and look at that Ethernet. It says actually, I think 2.5. So very fast if you are in an area that offers fiber, something like that. So, yeah. Here are NVMe. We'll go here. I suppose we'll put that on first. NVMe first is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're standing in front of it, so I guess you're driving the train.
Okay. Metaphorically speaking. All right. What is that? A number 1 screwdriver there?
That's going to be the JIS.
Yes.
It kind of looks like a Phillips number 1, but a JIS is actually going to fit just a bit better.
And it's magnetized?
It is. It should be magnetized.
One more. This doesn't look like a number 1 screw head, but the JIS handled it. Come on, magnetized.
Jim suggests we do the NVMe and RAM first because you'll never be able to reach them once the cooler's on. Yeah, I'm sure that's probably true.
That's for sure.
Let's hope we don't have any interference issues with the RAM. It is low profile, so I'm not quite sure that we could get it any lower.
That is a long screw. Yes, compared to the other one. Now, let's see what this, How does that lift off? I'm not talking about a spaceship. Lift off. Okay. All right. You see. You
still have one more screw there.
I was just seeing. I was just testing. Take two.
Lawn Dog said he picked up a set of those JIS screwdrivers the last time I gave a demonstration of them. Yeah, if you're doing work on laptops or anything with NVMe drives and you've been using a Phillips #1, you're going to immediately feel a difference in how well the screwdriver sits in the head of the screw.
How much, any idea what these go for on Amazon?
A 2 terabyte Samsung 980 Pro. Well, I'll tell you what, all the parts are in the video notes below this video with direct links to Amazon. If you make any purchase from Amazon using my links, I make a very small commission. Obviously, the more money something is, the percentage-wise, the commission's a bit more. And let me look up real quickly the price on Amazon today. Knowing these prices always fluctuate. Again, today's August 19th, 2022. So as you're watching the video in the future, this price may
jump.
Well, it'll unlikely be the same as it is today, but it'll be more or less. Hard to know the way, we didn't see the pandemic coming and that changed a lot of things. So it looks like the Samsung 980 Pro, about $240. It's suggested retail at $379, but Amazon's selling it today at $239.99 with free shipping. And this is a Gen 4 M.2 drive.
Nice. I think I've ever seen serrated blades.
No, my friend Ron said he mentioned it. I'm like, there's such a thing. And I Googled it and I found them on Amazon and I love them. They're just much more difficult to dull out. I mean, I was going through blades by cutting up all the boxes I have to put in a recycle bin and all the packages I open.
Paperwork.
Thank you. So the documentation aside. So there, Mitch has got the Samsung 980 and let's see. What is the blue there? Is that the blue on the motherboard? What is this blue?
Is that looks like tape to me.
Yeah, it does. It looks like thermal.
Why would he have it on both sides? So.
Well, I mean, it's not a bad idea, especially if you have a double-sided NVMe like we do. Yeah, it's absolutely thermal tape. So you want to peel the blue off of it, or there we go. Okay. Hold on, there's still a little something right there. It's a little schmutz.
Schmutz? Okay. All right, guys and gals, you know the routine. Gold notchy right there. Let's see if that Coke is kicked in with all that caffeine. All right. Steady. Ooh. Okay.
I'm gonna get one of those operation games. Okay. See how you're gonna do.
Now, is that sticky? So when we put that down with that thermal tape,
So look how that's interesting. It looks like when you put this cover back on, it's gonna hold the drive in.
Yeah. So should I peel the tape off?
Yes, please peel that tape off as well. And let me look in the motherboard just to see if there's any sort of adapter that they want us to put on there. I don't think there would be. We got our Wi-Fi antenna in there. We got some, that's nice, they throw in some zip ties. All of 7. So, out of the 60 we're gonna need, there's 7 less. Now I only need 63 more. We've got, there is a little standoff and screw here for an M.2.
Okay.
But does this have another M.2 somewhere else? It does. See there? You can put a second NVMe drive there. And then you would use this little
doodad
standoff and screw in either this position or that position, depending on the length. So we're not going to use those on this build, but that's good to know it's there. In most cases, and especially this one, you would have to take the entire motherboard out to utilize that. So it's not very convenient. But we do want to take advantage of this built-in heatsink. This drive, as all Gen 4 drives, do run a bit warm.
I forgot which way the cover goes on.
Well, just look at the mounting holes. What is this? ASUS has sent us a weird kind of keyring thing. Not sure which part of the motherboard this attaches to. It's very strange. What else do we have? So there's the standoff and the screw. Oh, what is this for? There's a weird little piece there. I don't know what it's for. Unless there's a, is there a third M.2 drive that's vertical?
Check this. Check the holes. You say here.
Yeah. So if you seat this, so flip that the other way. See the hole in the middle up here? That's going to match that one. And you peeled the tape off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just set it down like that. I hope.
Did I set the motherboard on the screws? Which one did the long screw come out of? Do you remember which hole that came out of?
I'm thinking.
Far right?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense because that's the one that's going to hold the NVMe drive. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Yeah, I don't know what this is for.
You don't?
I have no idea. Probably should read the documentation. This is just to give them a close-up. Maybe somebody in the chat room knows what that is for. Then I don't have to, make any effort to look in the documentation. Turn the gray tab to lock in the drive. What gray tab is he talking about? Lift that back up for a second. Did we miss something? Because I know ASUS was supposed to introduce that little screwless design for M.2 drives where you just rotate this little plastic, like a knob, and when you rotate it, it holds the drive down, so no tools are required. And I've never seen a board with it. I only read about it. Let me jump in there real quick. Now the sticky tape has really adhesed itself there. Oh, I see it now. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I've always wanted to play with one of these. Do you see this right here? See if I can get something smaller than my finger. It's a little tab. You're supposed to use your finger, but I'm trying to make it so you guys can. Apparently it just goes that way. That holds the drive down. Can you get that any closer? Yeah, so this piece.
It's gray.
Yeah, it just rotates. Looks like, which way did I rotate that? Clockwise. And that, instead of placing a screw to hold it down.
Right there.
It's a toolless and screwless design, and I bet other manufacturers are going to copy that. And I hope that they do. That's wonderful. I am so happy that that's there. And again, thank you for bringing my attention to that. 55 Staying Dude says, is that an NVMe latch? That's exactly what it is. Oh, and it was Peter Laycock who told us to do it.
Okay.
He's like, make sure you build my computer right.
Right.
Just keeping an eye on it. That's pretty cool. I want to see more of that, for sure.
Here, I'm not doing so good.
No, you having some trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes lining these up are a little bit more difficult. It's nice when they have little pegs that can, help guide it to the right location. There it is. Just kind of have to feel for it. There it goes. And then we got the last one. And I always use a magnetic screwdriver. Screws are very, very tiny. You don't want to drop one. Very difficult to find replacements for. Well, did that one stick that far up?
I don't remember.
Maybe because the drive is under it now.
Oh, right.
But these are recessed.
Yeah.
Let me just back this out and just make sure I haven't cross-threaded it. Apparently it's supposed to remain captive. That screw was never supposed to come out.
Okay.
For some reason, only that one and not the other two. Another one of these weird ASUS designs. We've got a weird kind of a rubber, this I haven't seen before either. It's like a rubber sleeve over the latch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that stay on, or are we supposed to take that off?
I'd leave it on myself.
Yeah, I can't see why it would hurt. Yeah, we'll leave it on there.
Okay.
This is a different socket design. Look at how the socket opens this way.
Ah.
And that is a socket 1700. It's a bit more rectangular in shape. See if you can get down real close to that. Super, super close. There's 1700 little pins there. All so delicate. All right, let's get our CPU installed.
i5.
i5 12600K is a real good deal in CPUs.
There you go.
The focus is a little slower on this camera, but I mean, considering how tiny it is, it's a very impressive picture. And I'm sure the colors on this one are a bit more vibrant than the other one, and that's only because straight out of the box, this one's just kind of got really good defaults. Canons never have real good defaults out of the box. So eventually I will get the Canon to have a similar, if not superior, picture to this one. Right on. Okay, here's our chip, and there's documentation in there.
Yes, there is.
Like with a Go Faster sticker, because you got to have stickers if you want to go faster.
I have it upside down.
You've never seen a race car win a race that did not have stickers on it. So clearly, those stickers make the cars go faster.
Okay.
All right, here's our chip. So you can get a nice close-up of that. I'll bring it to you. Oh, it's a really nice picture. I want to do a 12900K build, but I don't want to pay $560 for the chip. So when that chip gets to be 500, like $499, I'll buy it and then probably do a new streaming computer with it. All right, so here, look at the bottom. It's got this weird design on the bottom. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. All right, so where's that triangle at? Looks like a triangle right here, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And we know it's got to either go in this way or this way. The direction of writing doesn't help me on a Mini-ITX board. There is a little triangle right where my pinky is. You can just barely see that little golden triangle. And that's going to align with this triangle etched into the board. And we should be able to just gently set this in. Kind of press it against the top of this plastic edge, but don't touch the metal pins. And then lower it as best you can. And then you can let it go. And it should fall right into place. I'm just grabbing the edges and trying to twist it, and it's not moving. It's resting just over the pins right now. When we close the lid and lower the lever, that's going to push that CPU down to make contact with those pins. As I mentioned, they're very, very delicate.
Okay.
So it appears the writing, it is in the same orientation as a micro ATX and ATX board in the sense that when I say the writing always faces down, I'm referring to your graphics card being below, and that the writing faces as, you know, if you were looking at the board mounted in a case, that you'd be able to read it top down without having to turn the case in a different orientation. That's interesting that it maintains the same orientation. All right, so now this socket closure is a little bit different, which will be, we lower this part first. And I want you to pay attention right here. See that? Like a little bend?
Yep.
Right there. That's going to hold on to this little fork the edge of it, and apply downward pressure. And it should pop this little plastic cover off all by itself. So this is a little different than all the other i5s and i7s you've seen me build. This is more similar to an X series processor, like an X299 based. So we should be able to, let me think about this. It should be even possible to completely remove this, but I don't want to remove it. I feel like I'm doing something wrong here. I am definitely doing something wrong. We should be able to. Is it just already hitting that cover? There's also the little triangle on the cover as well. If you're not seeing the little triangle on the board, sometimes it's on the little
cap, cover. Yeah.
So I'm going to remove this to see if that's what's giving us. You know what? This one I don't think is going to pop off on its own. It's in there pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and take this piece off. Now it should go. Yeah, now it can fully seat. Okay. And now when I close this lever down, it's going to put a lot of downward pressure, downward force. Pushes the CPU down onto the pins beneath, and then lock it under that little hook. So that's under a lot of tension. So be prepared to have a little bit of strength to push that down. And that seats our CPU. We can slap some RAM in here. Again, we've got two sockets. This is for DDR5. This is the first time I've used that little NVMe latch, the first time I'm using DDR5.
Some firsts here on the show.
But it's all pretty well the same. I think that's the lesson. Even if you go back to the original Train PC build in 2013, even though we're using different CPUs and motherboards, it's pretty much all identical except for just minor little differences. The concept and process is identical. Like if you look at the DDR5 RAM, it doesn't look any different than DDR4. I'm trying to get this separated here. There, kind of stick a finger into that. It's a little notch. Documentation. Now, if we look at this RAM, doesn't it look exactly like DDR4?
Yeah.
But the notch is in a different place. So DDR4 RAM cannot be seated into that socket on the motherboard, nor can DDR5 be seated into a DDR4 socket.
Let's turn one over. Okay. 32 gigs. Very nice.
16 gigs apiece. So now, come over here. We open the retention levers up on this side. These don't open because if they did, they'd likely interfere with any GPU. And you see that band, that silver band?
Mm-hmm.
That's designating where that notch has to go over, which is not the right direction. You see, that's not going to align. So I have to turn this around this direction. Slide it into the track. Very gentle. Should be no required force, even though it says force. And then push down one side and then the other once we know it's in the track and aligned properly. Second RAM module, same orientation. Get it aligned into the tracks. Again, no force. Should just slide in real easy. And then once it's seated down, then use your thumbs and push down one and then the other side. And then you'll hear those little retention levers clip into place. Now, this is the only area we have for a CPU cooler, and I'm a little concerned because I feel like this cooler is bigger than that. But I don't know if it lifts up high enough to give us clearance for the RAM. I mean, this claims to be designed for the 1700 socket size, And it's saying any 1700. Like right now we only have 1700, but it's possible there could be a 1750, I don't know. But if the number starts with 17 on the Intel side, then this cooler will work. That's what they say anyway. All right. Well, you know what? This doesn't look too bad. Noctua does a great job in packaging. Like, it's almost ridiculous the amount of effort they put into showcasing their metal badge, the standoff screws, the
Go faster, sick.
this is a they call this a noise reducer, but what this does is it lowers the voltage to the fan to make it quieter. We're not going to use that. And then the rest of what's in the box, right up on the lid, is the documentation for installation. You have to be careful when you're buying these coolers. I think that's just going to fit. What you've got to be aware of is Noctua makes these coolers for specific chips. So if you want one for an AMD, or if you want one for 9th, 6th gen, 7th gen, 8th gen, 9th gen, 10th gen, you've got to buy the right cooler. They don't give you the universal mounting kits to fit different sockets. This is socket 1700 only.
And this is heavy. I'm actually,
Did
you feel it? Yeah. Wow.
And then in this box here is going to be any remainder of any mounting. And I hear something. This must be the other side I have to open. So we've got some screws, which I'm guessing are for securing the fan. Well, the fan's already secured. I don't know what those are for. Story of my life. But that's all that's in the box. I'm going to just put all the stuff over here and get it out of our way, keep our workbench clear. I also found a solution for moving the streaming computer behind me, and hopefully I'll be able to get to that next week.
Can I peel this off? It's bugging me.
Please do. Come around here. Let's show what he's talking about. A lot of stuff you buy for computers will have plastic covering it to keep it from any scratches during shipping, but that plastic is not intended to stay on, and it can create issues. Primarily, the main issue it creates is it will yellow and bubble over the years, and it looks terrible. And then when you peel it off, it's like brand new under there. So if you want to keep that plastic on to protect it, well, it's really thoughtful of you to do that for the next person you sell it to. I recommend you enjoy what you paid for and take the plastic off of it.
Is it glove time?
I do believe it is. Let me just look one more time at what we have here. We've got the thermal compound. It's nice they give us a tube of that. The noise reduction piece I won't use. The standoffs, these are pretty interesting looking screws. They've got the washers already on them. It's nice that Noctua does this in such a way that reduces any odds of you installing it incorrectly. I wish I could say the same for their design change on the U12S, which I stopped using because of that. Feel how heavy this little Noctua badge is. It feels the weight of a United States nickel. It's super thick and it's super heavy. Listen to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, get that off to the side. These screws, let's take a quick look at the documentation. It looks pretty straightforward. We're going to place the cooler down, and then these screws are going to come from behind the motherboard and screw in the cooler from the back instead of from the front, which is great because otherwise the fan would have to come off. And the additional screws, what are they for? It doesn't even, I don't see any mention of those. It just shows us this. And there's no other
mention of these long ones.
Yeah, they just look like fan screws. In case you would like to use a 92 by 95 millimeter fan for further improved performance, first unscrew the pre-installed NF-A9 by 14 fan and use the supplied longer screws to install the 92 by 25. So in other words, they have a fan that's thicker. See how thin this one is? So it's the same size fan, but
thick.
it's going to have deeper blades, so therefore it can push more air through. I don't think we're going to need that on a 12600, but that explains what the screws are for and that we will not be using them. And yeah, I think it's time for us to
glove up.
Yeah, we're going to glove up here. Probably need to put that area where my thumb is.
Yeah. How many years you went to medical school? All right.
Well,
yeah.
Thing is, I was at the medical school, but I would just go there for lunch.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna just, there's a pretty large area to cover. It's gonna use more thermal compound than most of the other Intel CPUs you've seen me build lately. It's a good third larger in physical size. And I'm just basically finger painting this. Noctua recommends, putting a dot in each corner and one in the middle. But Noctua's not going to support this computer if it has an overheating problem. I'm going to be the one. So since I am taking responsibility for it, I'm doing it my way. Something that 30 plus years of a professional IT experience has taught me.
Now, I was trying to see on the board where the CPU fan header is on the board.
Well, first we'll get this untangled.
Yeah, is it this one?
Is there plastic covering this?
I don't see it. No, that's smooth. Yeah.
Okay, so the fan header usually is at the edge of the board, and I would guess if it was my design, I would put it pretty darn close to the CPU socket and the edge of the board. So I would probably put it right up here somewhere. And if we look at this side of the board, we've got 3 fan headers. 1, 2, 3. None of them are a different color.
Okay.
There's some really small writing over to the right underneath these white connectors. And I think that's the only fan headers this board has in totality. You wouldn't be putting more fans on it in a Mini-ITX,
right? Because
your case would be too small. But this one is a different color, isn't it? It's the this one's black, this one's black, this one's gray. So I bet you that's the CPU cooler. Usually there'll be some writing somewhere on the board. All right, let's flip this over. Let's test the extent of this camera. Bring the camera towards me, and I want you to zoom in where my finger is above the RAM. See how close you can get. If you look very, very closely, it says, it says fan. Even that's really super tiny for me to read.
Yeah. CPU
fan, and then what's the last one? Auxiliary fan.
Okay.
See how that's written 1, 2, 3 in a row?
Yep.
That's referencing these fans. This it's saying this one is the first one it mentions.
Okay.
This one's the one in the middle it's mentioning. They didn't have any room to write it. This was the closest they could put it.
Okay. And
then below it says ATX power. That's going to be this connector right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's all pretty much the same, but if you're at any point not certain, just look in your motherboard manual. They'll make that very clear. And if you don't have a motherboard manual, just go online to the manufacturer's website of the motherboard under support and download the PDF manual for it. So now here's where things get a little tricky. We know we have to put this in where, how do we want to run that cable? We want to run it out that side. I think that's probably going to be ideal. And I'm going to just set that. Ooh, that's a tight fit. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is...
Yeah. Does it have a little track that the cable can fit in?
Unless we put it on this way and run the cable. Yeah, I don't want it up against the RAM. So I definitely want it this direction. And we'll just slide that right over. Now here's the tricky part, is to hold it. And again, I'm only touching the edges of the board. I'm not touching anything metal. Oh, I almost saw how far I could make this thing fly. And you can see right through that. This is a little tricky. So we definitely want to go to the outer edge. You know, given that they made these holes this wide, it looks like this motherboard would accommodate a socket 115X cooler, surprisingly enough. I'm surprised they're allowed to do that. Usually Intel dictates to them what those cooler requirements are with regards to the mounting. So to see a motherboard manufacturer offer that, I mean, really, is that all it took? Because a Mugen 5, you know, works on a socket 1700 with different mounting. But with this one, they've made it backwards compatible. And if it's that easy, how come everybody else isn't doing that? What justifies the socket mounting technique variance? It seems like that was unnecessary. Well, I'm sure Intel engineers have their reasons. This is a bear to get this started. I think what I should do is set this down and let the weight of the heatsink use that to my advantage. I want to just start one corner. And then we'll do the other corner. And then the other two corners should just automatically align after that. Sort of want to even these out.
They are grabbing though, aren't they?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to rub the back of that board with the screwdriver. It wouldn't take much to break a trace or knock one of the surface mounted components right off. And then that's not a warranty issue. So do be careful on this part. These Mini-ITX boards in general are a bit more delicate and a little bit more difficult to work on due to the size constraints. There's kind of a lot of limitations here for the portability of it. Now, as long as I didn't pinch the cable, it should be good. Yep, go this way. Now, what's good to know is that we could still easily access this RAM and access that NVMe drive.
Nice.
The heatsink, in fact, does not get in the way as was predicted. And then I'll just run this cable like so, and then that's going to go onto the gray connector. If you can do like this. Oops, my bad. Hold on a minute, guys. 1 second. I'm trying to get a certain angle here. Yeah, that's what I was trying to show.
Okay.
Now I can take one of those zip ties and just kind of tie this up while we've got it.
Yep.
Well, we've got access to it, because once we put this in that little Train PC case, we ain't going to be able to access this area at all. And I can already see we're going to have a little issue with this connector. So let me figure this one out. Zip ties, where did those zip ties go? Do you have them?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, I'll just use some of these. Think about how I want to do this.
Boy, you get used to working on the big boards, and in the big cases, how easy.
By comparison,
By comparison,
so much
yeah.
more working room.
Right.
But, it's essentially all exactly the same, right? We're still using the
Right.
same CPU style and RAM style, only that, it's 12th gen with DDR5, which again, on the Micro ATX or Mini ITX, all these components would be the same. We could even use the same cooler if we wanted to, but we're only using it because we have to. I would prefer a Mugen 5, obviously, especially for the price. But I can't complain that the Noctua cooler was very easy to install, and that's the benefit when you buy a cooler that's made for a specific socket type rather than one that fits many different types, and you got to figure out what are the parts you do need and what are the parts you don't. And if you're a first-time builder, that can be a little bit intimidating and a little scary. How do you know? You just got to go slow, take your time, and hopefully my videos and other videos from other creators can help you. So put this stuff over here. And documentation there. Oh, actually, that documentation doesn't go with this. I'm going to just grab a normal EVGA power supply here just for testing outside of the box. We'll make sure we have the latest firmware installed on this, and we'll get Windows 10 installed and updated, and then we can put it into the Train PC case. We're making good time. It's only 20 after 2 in the afternoon here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Where it's muggy today.
Oh, it's so humid. I feel sticky. I feel like I'm in the South.
It's a bit much.
So this connector is a hard one to show, but we're just trying to get onto that 8-pin CPU power cable right there. Helps when I can see. There it is. And now, what's also different on the Mini ITX is the location of the motherboard umbilical. Normally the power switch, reset switch, power LED, they're down on the bottom left. On this board and on all Mini ITX boards, it's usually right over by the RAM. And again, etched really finely on the bottom of the board will be some writing. And of course you can take a look at your motherboard manual or PDF file if you need to see that close up. But essentially the cables still go on the same way. It's just their location, the physical location is not in the customary typical position you'll see on pretty much all ATX style and MATX motherboards. So we're dealing with ITX, and so because of the size constraints, things have to get moved in order to make room for, everything else. So we'll just hook up a power switch here, and it's really difficult to read that.
You're going to need an HDMI cable and power cable.
So the power LED goes on the first 2 pins in the upper row, and the power switch on the next 2 pins beside that on the upper row only. The same as we always do it. There it is. Power, thank you, Mitch. If you look over here, I want to make sure the power supply is in the off position. We'll move this cable to there, and we've got HDMI, and we're going to need a keyboard and mouse. Would you grab one
You got
for
it.
me? got display port and just HDMI output here. And yeah, Mitch has got the keyboard for me. Hit the power switch on the bottom of the mouse if you would. And we'll just plug this in anywhere here. This is the wireless dongle for both the keyboard and the mouse. All right, we are ready.
Smoke test?
We are ready to do the smoke test, absolutely. Uh-oh, we lost video. Oh, now it came back again. Not sure what that was all about. Me sweating.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look in the chat and see what I've been missing while I was elbows deep in the computer here.
In a little tiny machine.
Does it look like I missed any contributions? Okay.
Will it fire up, Chad? Will it or won't it? I'm betting it will.
There's Oystein joining us from Norway with a 100 Norwegian kroner contribution. Right on, Oystein. Thank you, my friend. Now, let's do this. Let's go back to camera one, and so camera girl gets a break. There you go, camera girl. You're good to go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For those close-ups, very nice.
And let's turn off camera 2, and then turn on HDMI. Whoops, that's turning off camera 1.
Oh, okay.
Let's turn on HDMI. And then we'll grab camera 1 and we'll just put us in a corner. How about that? Just like that.
Okay.
I flip the switch on the power supply to the on position. And are we ready?
Yeah.
All Mitch has to do is press that button.
Now?
Do we do a countdown?
Now? No.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One tap.
Okay. Fan is spinning.
Lights
Power
are
light is on.
Lights are blinking.
Yeah, we got a diagnostic LED on here, yellow or amber. Now this could take 90 seconds to 2 minutes for your very first boot.
Be patient.
Don't freak out that it doesn't come on right away. It's got to train the memory.
Yeah.
Even though it's in a train.
Yeah.
It has to train the memory in the CPU, and then adjust those settings in the BIOS, and then restart. And here we have our...
Boy, that fan's quiet. Is that quiet?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Let's
Have
see
to
what
make
this
it big
is
for us.
It's telling us new CPU. So please set up F1 to continue and take advantage of ASUS optimized performance. Okay, no, hit F1 there for me. And
voila.
Shows right up here.
BIOS 415.
Yeah,
0415.
So let me go over to the support page, and what I'm going to do is type into Google the model of this board. So we'll type in ROG Strix B660-I gaming Wi-Fi. And the first link Google offers us is taking us to ROG.asus.com. That's what we want. And then we're going to click, well, first of all, I think I should be able to share the screen with you here.
Okay.
Let's see, screen capture, window capture. There it is, window capture. And let's turn the window capture on. I'm not getting the whole screen. Control F. It's Control F. Control F. Doesn't look right. Right click, transform, fit to screen. Huh. For some reason, it's only showing me the top left. Why is that happening? Hold on a second, I'm gonna flip back over here. It seems like it's only showing the top left. It's very, very weird. Why is it doing that?
Odd.
Properties. Capture method. I don't know what that means. Oh, well, that seems to have done the trick.
Okay.
Whatever client area
it
is, I uncheck that, and now I'm seeing It's broadcasting the full screen that I see, that Mitch and I see. So what we want to do, when we're on the product page for the motherboard, we'll go over here to where it says support. Be aware that there's a support up here, but that's just generic support for ASUS. This right here is support for the product page you're on, and every manufacturer motherboard does this. They have 2 supports. MSI does it, ASRock does it, Gigabyte does it, ASUS does it. I don't know why, I think it's weird. Anyway, click on support, and then we're gonna go filter by BIOS/firmware. This is all some kind of weird documentation. I don't want that. Uncheck that. Drivers and utilities. That's what I want up there. And then BIOS and firmware there. Latest BIOS version is 1620. That's quite a bit newer.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit download.
From 14.0415, yeah.
We're going to grab this zip file. We're going to extract the contents of the zip file here locally on the streaming computer. And let me show you what this is. I saw a guy make a video on this and it really upset me because what he did was unnecessary, and I want to explain why. Back to window capture. See if I can show the Explorer window. There it is. Okay, so what we're looking at here, there's a BIOS renamer. Now you say, well, why don't they name the BIOS so you don't have to rename it? Well, here's the thing. You don't have to rename the BIOS unless what you're trying to do is to do like a BIOS flashback, where you have a processor that's brand new and the motherboard doesn't recognize it, so it won't turn on, and therefore you can't get into the BIOS to update the BIOS. So there's a button on the back that you'll press, or it's on the front of the board. It's somewhere. Usually it's in the back. There's a special USB port that'll have like a highlight around it, and it's needing to have a specific file name that's programmed into the board. You can do this without a CPU or RAM installed. That's why it's critical. The BIOS name has to have the name it's looking for. But if we're not flashing the BIOS through BIOS flashback or whatever ASUS calls it, then this file name is fine as it is. You do not have to rename it. So we're going to take this and we're going to copy it to the flash drive, which I will put into the streamer here. In fact, let me go back to the main. Let's go back to the main camera. So we take the flash drive, put it into the streamer. And it's a blank drive. I'm going to go to my downloads folder and I'm going to extract. Oh, we already did extract. I already copied. Now all I have to do is go to the flash drive and hit paste. And I don't need anything but the file that ends in .cap. That's the BIOS file.
Okay.
I don't need any prior BIOSes unless it says otherwise. You just go to the latest one, regardless of which one you have. If anybody requires minimum other previous BIOSes, it's typically AMD, and it has to do with compatibility to all of the CPUs since they stayed locked into that socket for such a long time. So we're going to close that window out. And now while we're in the BIOS, let me get rid of, well, not yet. I'm going to just pull this out. You don't have to safely eject this stuff anymore. I'm going to step around the back, and we can use literally any USB port for this. I'm looking to see where the BIOS flashback option is on this one. And I don't know that this supports it. I don't see a surface mounted button on the circuit board, and I don't see any USB port highlighted on the back here. So it's weird that they included the renamer. As I mentioned, that would be the only time the name matters. And it's got to end in .cap for our BIOS on screen here to see it. So let's go ahead and turn off camera 1 so we get a full screen of the BIOS. And we'll go full screen for Mitch and I so we can see. All right, Mitch, if you notice with this, let me grab this mouse and point some things out. There's our current BIOS version right up here.
Yeah.
And we have XMP currently disabled. We're going to leave it off until everything works. Then we'll turn on XMP, and if things start crashing, we know what's causing it.
Okay.
If we turn that on now and we crash, we don't know what's going on. So leave it off for now. Advanced mode right here, F7, and then under Tool, right up here it says Tool, and then ASUS Easy Flash 3 utility. We'll click there. Now the only thing that's formatted is the flash drive. The new NVMe drive has no partition or format. So it says, well, this is the only storage device I can read, and that's the only file on it. So it makes it real easy for me to not make a mistake here by keeping just one file on the flash drive. We're going to select that. It says, please back up your BitLocker recovery key and suspend BitLocker encryption in the operating system before updating your BIOS or management engine firmware. This is good to know because as we move forward in Windows 11, or for people that have BitLocker, I have never used BitLocker. I don't have any clients that require it, but it's a very good point that if you don't have your BitLocker key and you update the BIOS, you might be in a position where you have to reformat and reinstall everything. So that is a very important notice, and I'm glad that they're bringing it to our attention. Again, we don't even have an operating system installed, so we're going to read the file. It wants to make sure the file is the proper compatible file for this motherboard. If it wasn't, then we'd get a different message. But since it is, it says, are you sure you want to do this? We say yes. Now, we want to keep hands off of the machine during this time. It's going to take about 2 to 3 minutes for this process. And the newer the motherboard is, typically the larger the BIOS can be. The larger the file, the longer it takes to read. So this BIOS just came out, what, last week?
8.12, yeah.
So really fresh and new BIOS. It's not a beta BIOS. It's all been thoroughly tested, and I'm not quite sure what they're addressing in it. But whatever they're addressing will guaranteed not be a problem for Peter when he gets it. If we leave the old BIOS on it, it's quite possible that either right away or over time, I'm called with a problem that turns out to be fixed in the latest BIOS. And so a lot of people, they have a lot of anxiety about this process. So I'd much prefer to do it instead of the customer doing it. And also so that any reason why they would need to do it has been removed. Whatever these BIOS updates are fixing, I guarantee is a problem Peter will not have. If I leave the BIOS the way it is, I have no idea if that will ever become an issue that requires a BIOS update.
I'm growing used to the boards where you can do it over the web.
Yeah, when it works.
I've
had mixed blessings
on that. Yeah.
And it's so easy for me to do it this way.
Right.
Because the way we used to do it, oh my goodness, it was much more complicated making a bootable USB. You had to put like FreeDOS on it and use a DOS-based flash utility, and you had to type the whole command line out with switches, /S/R/E. If you typoed anything, it didn't work right. This is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Of course, doing it over the internet, when it works, it's even easier.
And I forget which boards do AORUS, or I forget. Which
ASRock does that, and some MSIs are starting to introduce it. I don't know if ASUS has it on some of their boards or not. I wasn't really paying attention to see if it wasn't even an option on this board.
I didn't see it, yeah.
So it's really important that you don't interrupt this process. So we really want to keep hands off the keyboard, hands off the mouse, steer clear of the machine. Don't trip over the cable, don't lose power. You could brick the motherboard, meaning that it will no longer function if it's half written the memory, if it's firmware, and the other half is missing. It becomes a useless piece of silicon. And then you got to call the manufacturer and make arrangements to send it back. It's a big hassle, all because of impatience.
But you've never really had, when you've been updating firmware, have a power outage?
No.
Ever?
If I lived somewhere where power outages were frequent, I would plug it into a UPS and do it anyway. And this is the time of year, if we're going to have a power outage,
yeah.
But I mean, there's been times where cars have crashed into poles, electrical poles, and it's knocked the power out to the block. And that could happen anytime, any day. But when the storms are coming, if it is going to happen, it's more likely going to happen during the storm season, which is the month of August for us in Phoenix, our monsoon season.
Well, and you called it, that took maybe 2 minutes. I mean, all of 2 minutes.
And I'm still hands off.
Yeah.
I have not clicked OK. It's already rebooting itself. You're going to see the Elgato logo. That's the capture card telling you that no video signal is coming in. That's because it's just like your monitor at home. When you go to restart your computer, your monitor at home might say no signal when you're starting or restarting the computer. So this is exactly the way you would experience it in real time, so that you have an idea of whether or not things are going the way they're supposed to.
So the board may shut off more than once.
It could shut off 2 or 3 times. Now in this case, it appeared to have only done it the one time. And again, we start with the same message we did before. So hit F1 for me. And now we should see the BIOS version in the upper left corner.
There she is,
1620. So with that, I no longer need the flash drive installed. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go back over to camera 1 for just a moment. And we'll take this flash drive out, and I will erase the file off of here. We'll never, ever use it again.
And then did you want to enable XMP?
No.
No.
What we want to do is, XMP should be one of those things you enable a week after your build.
Okay.
In other words, you want to make sure your build is working and it's solid. Because if you're going to run into problems due to XMP, and you've just recently built the computer, it can be very difficult to know if you've got bad RAM or you've got a bad driver. It's very, very difficult to diagnose. So what I would do is I would put the computer together with bare minimums and get your operating system and drivers and everything all installed the way you like it. Then, if everything's been running solid, at least for a day, then turn on XMP, and if things start crashing on you, it's likely an incompatibility with the XMP. Just so you know, the memory controllers are built onto the CPUs these days, and just as there's a CPU lottery regarding overclocking, there's also a CPU lottery regarding XMP, which is a form of overclocking on the RAM, where it's not that the RAM is necessarily incompatible, it's just that it doesn't run at that speed with that specific chip. And if you bought the exact same chip, say you had 2 of them and you swap them out, then that XMP may work fine with that one, because it's what we call silicon lottery, with the memory controller now no longer on the board but on the CPU. So a lot of people come to the wrong conclusion that their RAM is incompatible because they can't get the rated XMP speed, and they don't. There's not enough talking about the memory controller and the role it plays that has nothing to do with the RAM. And it's absolutely possible that a different brand of RAM will function better or at a higher speed, but not for the reasons people are blaming it on. It's really about the individual chip itself. No 2 chips are identical in every way. They all have different tolerances and variances, and this little thing. The method in which they make these is absolutely incredible. And as a result, there's Intel has to test each one individually, and that's more or less how they're going to determine, in many cases, which model of chip it is. The better the silicon is, the more likely we're going to be able to achieve rock solid stability at, say a 12900K versus a 12900. They're basically the same chip. So in any event, with that done, we can start our Windows installation. So to do that, I'm going to grab my Windows 10 flash drive right here. Hit the power button for me. If you will.
Just one tap?
Yeah, it should shut right off. Oh, we probably have to save and exit this, don't we? Hit F10 on the keyboard. I think F10 is save and exit. And then hit enter.
And hit enter?
Yeah.
I did hit, oh.
Okay. And now the system is going to bring us back in the BIOS one more time. Patience, patience.
Smoke them if you got them.
Yeah,
all right.
It's taking so long.
I'm seeing some lights flashing.
Well, it's doing something. There we go. It's going to probably bring us back in the BIOS. Yeah. So now, hit the power button. Just give it a tap and release. And that shuts it off. I've got the Windows 10 installation media. We're going to plug that into this blue USB port. And now, this is the only bootable device. And we don't have to tell the BIOS to boot to it. It's going to automatically try and boot to the solid-state drive, realize there's no partition or format, and then move to the next thing automatically by default in the BIOS. That's why I recommend don't make any changes in your BIOS when you're initially building your computer. Not even the date or the time. Leave it all alone. Whenever you're ready, press and release. And now it should boot off of the flash drive and begin the Windows 10 setup.
Come on, spinning circle. Mm-hmm. There it is. Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen me do this once, you've seen me do it 1,000 times. We always do the exact same process, regardless. I don't have a product key yet, so we'll click that, and we're going to have a product key for Windows 10 Pro. Hit Next.
I'll bet this is going to install fast on this 980.
It better. Agree to the license agreement, and hit Next. Always choose Custom Install. The only drive we have installed is the Samsung 980 Pro. If you were going to put multiple drives in your new computer, I strongly recommend when you're first building, only hook up the drive you want Windows installed on so you don't make a mistake. Add your second drive or third drive or fourth drive after your Windows installation is done and you've shut the machine back off. And I would hook them up in the order you want them. So if you want a certain mechanical or solid state drive to be drive D, then plug it in.
One at a time.
Turn the machine back on. Then it'll assign it to drive D automatically. Then shut it down. And then go to the drive you want it to be drive E. Plug it in. Turn it back on. It'll assign it to the next available letter, E. Shut it back down. Hook up your next drive. And then that way you don't have to manipulate all the drive letters around. And if there's any problem where the system stops booting, you know it's the last change you made. If you make a lot of changes and the system has an error or a problem, it's going to be very, very difficult to diagnose that. So all I have to do is hit Next, and now it's going to automatically partition multiple partitions. 4 partitions is what it's going to create. Format, and then copy over all the files needed for the Windows 10 installation. So, yeah, we're off to the races.
This should just be screamingly fast.
Yeah, it was, what, 244 on the clock there. I didn't pay attention. Well, look, see the green progress bar at the bottom?
Yeah.
It's moving.
And you and I remember the days when it was those
stack of floppy disks.
About that tall, you know. Just insert disk 19.
Peter says, just remember UK, not US. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Good tip.
Yeah. Might want to start over again. I don't know that it makes any difference. I've never done it installing it in UK, and I know the change could be.
Are the keyboards different than in the US? I just figured they were.
No, the language sometimes is a little different. Like they would spell the word tire, T-Y-R-E. Flavor or color, they add the letter U in there. Aluminium, they add the extra I instead of aluminum. So it's really just the slight change in the usage of the language, not so much the keyboard layout. Dave Hall wants to know if the Intel driver support and assist will update the BIOS. I don't think it will. The Intel driver and driver support and assist update usually offers BIOSes for Intel products. So like an Intel NUC, for example. But I mean, I haven't tried it, but I can't recall seeing a BIOS update offered for a non-Intel, maybe Dell. I might have seen it on a Dell laptop. Maybe. I still wouldn't trust it. I would prefer to make sure I'm getting the latest BIOS direct from the manufacturer, not from a third party. since Intel makes the NUC, I'm getting it from the manufacturer. So I would be very cautious about getting a BIOS from any third party. Martin Hogg said the keyboard for the UK is different. Oh, and Ray Sudbury says the same. Well, shows you what I know.
Okay.
They also say it's going to show pounds versus dollar. Well, that's,
okay.
I suppose they wouldn't. Well, they got to have a dollar sign on the keyboard because it's used for other things besides denoting currency.
You want a full screen ad so you can.
Yeah, have we not gotten to that part yet? I feel like. That's right. All right. So Peter caught it just in time.
Yeah.
Let me go full screen again here. Full screen. All right. So we want United Kingdom.
Right down.
Where's the first? And then why does it default to US on the keyboard layout? United Kingdom.
Skip. I don't have internet. Ask you twice.
So now we're going to create a local account. Peter, assuming you're still in there, what name do you want me to put on this computer for you? He says Richard. Okay, I can do that. So R. Oh, I got a lowercase. Hold on. I need to do that. R. There you go.
R.
I. The screen is so tiny. All right, and then we'll hit enter. No password. We'll just hit enter there. Let Microsoft apps use your location. This is a new one here. Yes, because the UK requirements, huh? Well, yeah, we'll let it use the location.
Accept.
Find my device. No. It's not portable. Send diagnostics.
No, thank you.
Send required. Send required and optimal. How about none at all? Doesn't seem to be an option here. Wow, this is a very different setup in the UK. Nope. Nope. Interesting how they do this differently.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, thank you.
Not now. Okay, so we're gonna. It looks like it went into 4K mode. Everything's super tiny over here. Paul Peterson says, I don't think the Intel tool offers BIOSes for other brands, but Windows Update often does offer BIOS updates. This is true, especially for laptops. But you can't even hear that at all.
No,
it's just
I mean,
nothing.
Whisper quiet.
Whisper quiet. Brian says our volume's been a little low during the last few streams. It seems I've been getting progressively lower during the streams. That's pretty weird since none of that's changed. It doesn't make much sense. But I can see the volume does look a little low here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think I'm going to leave it for right now.
Add that to the list of.
Yeah, I'll check it later because I don't want the half the volume, half of the video to be at one volume. But I appreciate letting me know, and I have noticed it. There's something has changed.
Because you get a lot of viewers listen on headphones.
I don't know what they're listening on.
Too.
I mean, I haven't seen anybody mention it until just now. Okay, now I can take the Windows 10 flash drive out and we can plug the internet.
The interwebs?
Yeah, let's plug that in there.
Now?
For sure. Now's as good a time as any.
You know, this is a 2.5.
Well,
gigabyte.
we're not using
No,
2.5. I don't know why anybody would spend that kind of money.
I didn't hear a click, but I got a green light.
Yeah. Looks good. Now, we may have an issue, especially with these newer boards. They may have newer Intel network controllers that are not built into Windows 10, and it does not see it. That's otherwise, you know, by now we would have gotten the question if we're on a public or private network. So, a couple of ways to fix this would be either use a driver disk, which I don't even know if this came with one. Go online, download the driver from ASUS, back to the driver and support page, put it on a flash drive and load it that way. Or, and my favorite, by the way, is if you have just a spare USB to Ethernet adapter, Windows 10 will have the driver for this.
Okay.
Then, when we go to Windows Update, it'll see the driver for that one, probably, and load it automatically. So, let's see what happens here. Step around. This one I bought as a USB Type-C. All my other ones were Type-A, and I thought, you know, more and more I'm seeing the Type-C.
And this board
have a Type-C.
This board just happens to have one, yeah.
Most new boards should have one in the back, and then we'll plug this in here instead. And then it should pop up once an IP address has been assigned and give us that question about if we're on a private network or not. Yep, there it is. It's behind us. And the screen is so tiny. Let me make it bigger over here for us. Say no, and then go down to the bottom corner here. Settings. Skip for now. And then down to Windows Update. And check for updates. And there's going to be a bunch. It's also going to update the video driver. And then after our first reboot, I should be able to resize the screen back to 1920 by 1080.
So it defaults to 4K?
It's auto-sensing the 4K
Oh,
capture
right. Yeah,
card,
that's right. Yeah.
and it's assuming that's what you'd want. If I had the 1080 capture card, it would default to 1080. All right, so while that's running, I suppose I can make this a bit larger on the screen here. We'll just kind of keep an eye on that when it's done. So if anybody has any questions for us at this point, we just have to wait for things to download. And then once it reboots itself, I think we don't need the USB adapter either at that point. When it reboots, not only will I have the video driver and can resize the screen to 1080, but I will have, I think I should have the updated network card driver. So I've been getting a couple support calls the last few months on that, where people are so spoiled that Windows is finding drivers for them. They think that the motherboard's bad and has to go back for an RMA. Back in the day, you used to have to put all your drivers, sound, network, modem, video, you had to do it all by hand. And Windows 10 does such a good job at auto-detecting and loading the right driver that when the latest and greatest tech comes out, Windows Update hasn't yet been up. The Windows installer instead doesn't recognize this new hardware. And so you can either use another machine, download the zip file from the manufacturer for the driver, expand that zip file on the flash drive, and you can even then plug the flash drive in and load it right off the flash drive. That's the old school way. The new school way is just keep one of these little Ethernet USB adapters around. They're cheap. They're like $15 or less. And they're great to have as emergency backups if something should fail and you want to, you know, it's always going to fail at a bad time, by the way. And you think maybe the network card's gone out or there's some issue with it. It's a great tool to have around because it'll work on your laptop if you have an issue or your desktop, and it could get you back up and running And in fact, if it solves your problem, you don't really have to go back and fix it. Just leave it like that forever. So.
And in my house, Morrison Manor, I'm all about the hardwire. I really don't have anything on Wi-Fi except my Nest thermostat. So.
We have that air conditioner, don't you?
Oh yeah, that's on. Yeah, that's true.
A portable room air conditioner on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay, that's us. It's not the one I meant to make big screen.
Oh, okay.
I want to go this one full size because I can't read the progress on it. Where are we at?
Boy, those went fast.
They did go quick, didn't they?
Wow.
Yeah, oh, that looks good.
And this computer is eligible to load Windows 11.
Can you imagine?
Ugh.
There is an advantage to Windows 11 on the 12th gen processors because they have those E cores, those economy cores, or efficiency cores. And not that they don't work in Windows 10, they work fine, but they work a little bit more efficiently in Windows 11. More so noticed at the 12900 end of things. But if there was ever a reason to upgrade to Windows 11, it would be just to get every ounce of performance out of your 12th gen Intel processor. Les Stevenson said, Carrie and Mitch, have a great week. Cannot stay, a great weekend. Cannot stay very long. I'm getting ready to move. Well, hey, I hope it's a good move. Frankie McAvoy said, Carrie, here's a crazy idea. Imagine a Waterford crystal glass computer case.
Yeah, and imagine the cost, yeah.
How would you hide the cable management in that thing?
Do they make that in Ireland? Is that where Waterford crystal? I could have sworn that's where the main
factory is. In Waterford,
yeah,
Ireland, so that's why I said Waterford crystal. I would imagine. Martin says your gain is higher than mine.
Well,
your microphone's up higher.
Higher, yeah.
Actually, you're wearing my microphone and I'm wearing yours.
Oh, I thought I was G3 and you're G4.
Oh, you know what? You're right. This is normally mine. I've been using G3 exclusively for the last couple months. Well, it doesn't matter. They should both have the exact same settings.
But yeah, I always remember you were G4. So.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I forgot. Yeah. I didn't tell you. I've been using G3 this whole time.
Ah. Well, your sound on the last few shows have been, to me, spot on. I mean,
but the volume level for the microphones is not individually set. They're both. Well, you know what? I better double check. Don't they said that? Let me go. Okay. The microphone does have separate input control volumes for each input, but they should both be set to automatic. Or they're either that or they're both set to main.
I just had my mic up a little high because I'm always putting it kind of low, and he's like, put that lavalier mic higher.
Yeah, they're set the same.
Okay.
They're on manual and they're set on 4.
Okay.
So that means the input controls are exactly the same gain on both microphones. I have no idea what that's all about, but it's not a big deal. It's a little bit lower than I normally have it, but it's not like it's a massive difference. But definitely something to take a look at offline.
Add to the list.
Mm-hmm. And the computer's going to sleep on us. Or it's loading a video driver, one or the other.
Looks like it loaded a driver.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, I will tell you, I have not ridden my motorcycle since I left for my trip, so I'll bet that the last time I jumped on that machine was probably June 15th, because then I took the leads off the battery because I didn't want the battery drained while I was gone. So I'm hoping here by the end of the month my foot ought to be all healed up by then. And so
what was your foot?
I smashed my foot going out of a room on the door jamb, and so I broke.
Well, you've been back, or while you were away?
While I've been back, so I broke my pinky toe, and there's nothing you can
broke
do.
your pinky toe.
Yeah, there's nothing. Wow. There's nothing you can do. So, but that figures that would be the one, where you have to clutch up and clutch down. I wouldn't care if it was over here.
Yeah, but at least
on
that's
the
your
right.
big toe.
Right, yeah. Over here on the brake where it's just, you just kind of set the brake. But at the end of the month, I'll fire it up. And again, the guy that sold me the motorcycle, we're all set to go to the Rocky Point motorcycle rally like we did last November 6th, 7th, and 8th. And he's like, we're all set for this year. I'm like, okay.
Robert Peterson says he just checked. Waterford Crystal is named after the town in Ireland.
Yeah, my mother had some beautiful where you just wet your finger on that and she will go around that glass, and boy would she sing on the Waterford.
I just remember that stuff from the 1970s. I don't really hear much about it today.
Yeah.
You have a joke of the day for us?
Indubitably.
What do you got?
You ready for it?
Probably not.
The corny joke of the day?
Probably not.
Okay. What do you call a hen who counts her eggs?
What do you call a hen who counts her eggs?
A mathema-chicken. Wah, wah. I know they're bad, but that's why they're corny.
I know why the chicken crossed the road. It was to get away from Mitch's bad
corny
jokes. Alrighty then.
Yeah.
Marco said he's taking his motorcycle with him to Italy.
Ooh.
Is it a Vespa?
I think I'm getting a hanker, and I think here at the end of September, usually I do the Vegas run, and then I want to do the Pacific Coast Highway kind of one more time. Because again, Chad,
You got ripped off on that last trip.
Yeah, it was at the end of September, but I am, unloading the bike next year.
Yeah.
Maybe in the fall, because it's just, I'm an old man, and I can say I had 2 wonderful years with it, but you got to know when to say when. And I'm like, I feel much safer in a car, and you got your music and your phone, and
people in Phoenix.
Yeah, and looking around, and so
the way they drive there, nobody's paying attention.
So I'm like, had a wonderful experience with it, but you're living on borrowed time, after a few years. And I know plenty of guys older than me that still ride, and I'm like, the bones just aren't going to heal if you lay it down. So I'm like, yeah.
Ski Man says he's going to ask for some Math McChicken nuggets next time he orders. Frankie McAvoy said, Carrie, the factory is based in the heart of the city of Waterford. I was a glass cutter for 21 years.
Wow.
It's an interesting career.
Yeah.
Glass cutter. There's Alan Lindus in the chat saying hello. Marco says he's got a V-Strom or V-Storm DL1000. I guess it's 1000 cc something.
Yep. Mitch, I'm 77 years old and I'm still riding a Harley.
That's Robert Peterson in the chat saying that.
Yeah. I mean, it kills me to give it up because I don't need a second car. I've always kind of liked having 2 cars. I don't know why, but in case one you go out and you got an appointment and the battery's dead on one, you've always got a second vehicle.
Yeah, you can
to jump on. So
don't have to deal with it
at
that
time. So I've always kind of done it. So we'll see.
All right, we're doing our reboot now after all those updates, and then we'll try when this comes back up. Again, I'm going to reduce the video resolution to 1080.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to unplug that USB to Ethernet adapter and plug the Ethernet cable straight in. I mean, I could just look at the device manager, but I'm too lazy. I feel pretty confident that should fix it. So let's just make this full screen for you and I. There we go. Right click, display settings. 1820 by 1080, I think it's that one. That's incredible that I picked the right one. Could you even see those numbers?
No,
Yeah.
I was quite impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I got a touch.
The knack. All right.
Let me turn off.
I love
views
that
and
band.
Interests. Yeah, and they're one hit.
Yeah.
Great guitar and drum work.
Yeah.
My Sharona.
Good Girls Don't was a pretty cute song too. Yeah.
All right, and then, oh, Ethernet. Let me go over to the Ethernet adapter here and step around. Let's see what happens. Unplug the USB Ethernet adapter, unplug the cable, plug the cable directly into the board. I did hear it click.
Yeah.
And we still have that little globe. So it may not have loaded the driver.
Huh.
Oh yeah, it did.
Oh yeah, there it did.
Yeah, now it's just switched.
Yep.
So now we should be able to go back to Windows Update. So it's just an easy way to deal with that particular situation, which you're likely going to encounter on a 12th gen or newer system or some real high-end 11th gen boards. And just having one of these little USB, this one's made by Ugreen. It's a USB to Ethernet gigabit adapter. I'm going to bring it up close to the camera.
And they make it in Type-C and USB 3.0 or no?
Well, Type-C is USB 3.
Okay.
It's only the,
but if you want a different end other than the USB-C, is it Ethernet with a...
you could do it a couple of different ways. So let me just click on these boxes here and get these driver updates. And then let me go back over to, let's go back over to the main camera real quick.
Full screen, or yeah, the main.
I have both. Well, here's what I ended up doing anyway. Let me just bring this up here and I'll show you. Because this requires a close-up.
Okay.
So I've been finding more and more systems are coming in, especially with this problem where they have the Type-C USB. And of course, all motherboards have the Type-A, but I've run into like some laptops where you only get like one Type-A and one Type-C, especially on those really thin laptops. And I'm using the Type-A for the wireless keyboard and mouse, right? Or at least the wireless mouse, so I don't have to deal with the touchpad. So I wanted a Type-C connector. I always have had one with a Type-A, that's common. And you can get them either way, but what I decided to do was get one with Type-C, and then I bought on Amazon a little Type-C to Type-A adapter.
Well, look at that, yeah.
So, and it just so happens, I just realized the color matches. It looks like they might have came together here. But that, I just realized it's much too wide. But that right there, these are sold in pairs on Amazon, the little Type-C to Type-A adapter. And I primarily bought this, not for this, but for the NVMe enclosure that I use by Silverstone has a Type-C end on it. And it didn't come with a Type-A adapter. So I kept reaching over and using a Type-A adapter from somewhere else. I was taking it, robbing Peter to pay Paul, if you will. And so, well, not Peter, that sounds terrible. What's another male name that begins with P? Robbing Preston to pay Paul. Anyway, so now I could use this on Type-A if I need to. But in my drawer, I actually have both a Type-C and a Type-A. I prefer to use the Type-C whenever possible, just so I can get as much bandwidth through here as possible.
Well, and now that you mention it, I do have one of these that I use with my MacBook Air.
How dare you?
Who said that?
Who let this guy in? How did you get past security? Somewhere in this drawer I should have.
Again, Uncle Kerry, I let my sister-in-law last year, sucker me, talk me into a MacBook when my Windows laptop died, and I've kind of regretted it ever since. But,
well, you know, some people,
I just don't know how to use it. It's the Windows, I knew everything about it, and I'm like, I should go back.
I think you're just too smart for it.
Yeah, so too much brains. All right.
Brains. Where?
And you say these are about 15 bucks?
I think so.
Some on Amazon?
Let's take a look on Amazon.
Ugreen is the brand you bought?
Yeah, Ugreen has got a lot of good PC peripheral stuff. The quality of it and the price of it's all very good. I'm very happy with all that I've purchased. I absolutely am seeing my audio far lower than it should be. That's very strange.
I don't know. When we were testing it before the show, you were up higher when you went test. Yeah. Had you been that low?
Well, one of the changes I'm going to make, I've got it plugged into XLR, but it's coming out of a 3.5 millimeter.
Okay.
And back at Studio A, I've got the boxes that these wireless mic packs came in, and they have a 3.5 to 3.5. And the XLRs are introducing some noise that I was trying to resolve, and that's lowered the volume. And what I think I'm going to do is just, I mean, XLR is supposed to be superior in audio quality, but I've never used the 3.5 jacks because I've been so brainwashed. The camera does have 3.5 inputs on it. You don't have to use the XLRs. And I say these XLRs, they have a hum. They're supposed to be balanced, but if you crank the gain up too high and you tap on the XLR cable, you can hear it. So it's way too sensitive. And it's not a cheap cable. Yeah, so let me go over to Amazon.
Ugreen.
And let's go to the window capture. Right. There's that turn on? Yeah. All right. So this is a Ugreen USB to Ethernet adapter.
There you go.
So that's the Type A. You'll see it's very square. Yep. This one's more rounded. This is the one we're using. It's what, $2 more?
Yeah, get that.
Well, they both. This one has a $3 coupon that you can apply, bringing it down to $13.99.
Ooh.
This one has a $2. To take advantage of that, when you click on the product, there should be a little checkbox under here. Yeah, you have to click the little checkbox. And that'll bring $2 off that price.
To save you some money, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. And as for the little adapter, oh, by the way, it doesn't have to be Ugreen. I mean, there's one that's, here's a Ugreen one that's $11.99, but it's only 100 megabit. This is USB 3.0. It does work on a Nintendo Switch and Mac and Linux OSs. And then finally, the little adapter I have, which is a USB-C to A adapter. Let's see if I can find the one I bought. So these are little cables. I've got, these look square.
Maybe put in Ugreen.
No, these are not made by Ugreen. These are, I don't see a manufacturer name on these. I think it's this right here. $8.99 for 2 of them.
Okay.
Here's $9.99 for 3 of them. I'm sure they're all pretty much identical. I wanted it to be super small, but you can see you can get a little tethered cord. But in this case, it's going from a male to a female. We need it the other way around. We need it to go from a female type C to a male type A. So that's backwards. And that one's for Thunderbolt. Which will work, by the way. But Thunderbolt's a bit more demanding, so it might cost a little more. But yeah, as usual, you know, this is where I'm buying the vast majority of my tools and parts that you see here on the channel. And that's why I appreciate the Amazon gift cards that are sent, because I'm spending it all there. The cameras, the lenses, the memory cards, the GoPro, you know, the microphones, all that stuff.
Well, we'll see if we're ready to do a restart. Any new updates?
Jamie McGregor contributes £5. Great live stream. By the way, Mitch, if your MacBook isn't the new Apple Silicon ones, you can install Windows on it using Boot Camp. Yeah, don't get me involved in that.
Yeah.
We got about 410 people watching live right now, all over the world.
It's got the M1 chip, so it's the older one, not the M2. So it's a couple of years old, what I'm thinking. Barely use it. Took it with me on my trip, of course. So.
Why did the art gallery go out of business? This is from Jim S. in the chat room.
Don't know.
Why did the art gallery go out of business? They ran out of Monet.
I still like my chicken joke. All right, yeah.
Count the money, count the
money.
Count the money. Jason Urbeck says the only time XLR is superior to unbalanced audio is when using long distance cables such as longer than 50 feet. Other times XLR can be better if there are AC cords near the cables. Well, you know, when I did that radio show, they had me brainwashed that anything less than XLR was not broadcast quality, and they wouldn't accept it. So I got that nice high old PR40 with a custom-made desk stand with a mute button. So when we went to commercial, I could, you know, without any clicking sound, I could silence the microphone, and the listeners wouldn't know that I had. It's like a cell phone; you hit the mute, the other person doesn't even know you've done it. There's Larry in California. LRCX says, my B460 HD3 motherboard you built has BIOS version F4B beta. I tried to upgrade it to F13, but the BIOS said it was not for that motherboard. Do you have any suggestions? You'd have to email me, Larry, because if it says it's not for the right motherboard, you probably got the wrong BIOS. So I'd have to, because I can't remember what I sold them. But my guess is that's just the wrong BIOS. I'm not aware of an F13 on a B460. As far as I know, that's on the B560. So it sounds like you downloaded a B560 BIOS. Just out of curiosity, if we just go over there and take a look, Gigabyte B460 HD3, go to the support page over here, share the screen with you guys again. BIOS. There's only 4 BIOSes. F2, F3, F4C, and F4. So yeah, so Larry, you were trying to put a B560 BIOS on a B460 board. The reason I know that is I've done so many of those B560s these last couple of weeks, I know it's F13.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to brick your motherboard, my friend. You absolutely must be extraordinarily cautious and watch every single detail of what you are choosing when it comes to a BIOS. This is not something that should be done so casually that the obvious is something you are missing. You must have an eye for detail. Thankfully, it didn't let you flash it, and that's the way it should be, but best that you didn't even try. So that problem, I guarantee, is solved now. Got lucky on that one, that was super easy for me to answer that. You guys have got to be extraordinarily mindful for the exact model number of the board. So like this ROG Strix B660i gaming Wi-Fi, for all we know, there's a ROG Strix B660i gaming without the Wi-Fi. And so you think, oh, why isn't the BIOS saying it's compatible? I know it's the right one, because you got the wrong one. And if you were forcing that BIOS onto it in a case where there's a version with Wi-Fi and a version without, basically all the Wi-Fi options get removed from the BIOS and your Wi-Fi won't work anymore. So
we got a contribution from Ryan.
Ryan in Canada. $2 says, I get the impression Mitch likes toilet.
Indubitably. I'm their biggest fan, and they know it.
He said, I'm sorry, I was going from memory and typed the wrong number. I did download the F4. It's possible you got a corrupted version of the F4 or the flash drive you're using. I would use a very small flash drive. Make sure it's formatted in FAT16 or FAT32, preferably under 2 gigs in size. Download a fresh copy of the zip file, extract it, copy it over to the BIOS, to the flash drive rather, and then try and update the BIOS that way. It should be no problem at all. All right, now let me see how we're doing over here
on
with
updates. Yeah.
I went to sleep. Let me wiggle the mouse and wakey. Come on now. Where you at? Any minute now. Should come back on.
Bueller?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Let's try that update.
Yeah, it's so small. I can't see.
Yeah, well, so folks watching at home, Mitch and I are watching on a window in a window. So what we're seeing is about this big, and it's 10, 12 feet away. It's very difficult unless I make it full screen for us. When I make it full screen, I can no longer see what's going on in the camera. I can no longer see the chat room. And then I have to remember to come back. And then when I come back, and then I step in front of the camera and I want to hold something in front of it and realize now the OBS window's behind the YouTube window. That's why I have to keep stepping back around and grabbing them out. And that's really why I need 2 monitors. So I just don't have any place to put one, but it is a problem that once I get the majority of these systems out, I'm putting more time and effort into the studio. I've been putting an average of about $2,000 a month the last few months in new studio equipment. And I'm trying to get it all out of the way so that when the move to Michigan comes, I won't have that expense on top of everything involving in moving. So that's my logic behind it anyway. We'll see if it actually works out for me. All right, that looks good. Yeah, I don't necessarily know that you need to change that BIOS over, Larry, but you know, there's no reason that shouldn't work. I'm pretty sure I've updated a 4B BIOS to the 4, which is the non-beta completed BIOS.
You got any water in the fridge? I'm quite parched.
Yeah, we'll grab you
What a guy. What a guy.
water. We don't drink that crap here.
Water. Ooh. Thank you.
In fact, I'll put another one in there just to start cooling one down. All right, guys, do you have any final questions for us? I still have to run the Intel driver updater. We're going to put the Samsung Magician on. We should run Crystal Disk Mark and see what kind of numbers. We should get about close to 7,000 megabytes per second on the reads and writes. And then I'll have to do another video for putting everything in the Train case. I really want to get the Train PC cleaned. It's a little embarrassing how dusty it is right now. And we've been going on for, how long have we been, 2.5 hours? So I like to keep these no more than 3 hours, especially in this heat. Patrick wants to know if I'd consider using a tablet to moderate the chat. I've thought about it. I've thought about having something right over here like a tablet. In fact, Mitch gave me his old iPad, which has been sitting collecting
But
dust.
then you're constantly looking
then
away
I'm not
from the
looking at
camera.
the camera, right? So that has me a bit concerned that forcing me to look straight ahead, even if I'm not directly staring into the camera, but off to the side, feels a little bit more personable. But I'm still thinking of other ways to accomplish this task. Ryan in Canada with another $2 Canadian contributed via Super Chat. Said, here's a little something for the lovely camera girl.
Thank you.
$2 Canadian. Don't spend it all at once. No, it's very kind of you, Ryan. Thank you. Do camera techs move to Michigan? This one, I'm going to have to become a camera tech whether I like it or not.
Not me. I grew up there and I like it.
Carrie, will it be Studio C in Michigan eventually? That's the plan.
Yeah.
Studio C. That's supposed to be the main one.
But you know, Chad, I'll go out and visit Uncle Kerry. So
We'll put him to work while he's out there too.
yeah.
Say, well, you're here. Grab a screwdriver.
Because I don't think in 2026 I'm going back for my 50th high school reunion. I did the 10, the 20. We didn't have a 30, and I did the 40. And I kind of said to my twin sister, I don't know whether I got the strength to do it. The 50th.
Well, I hated high school. I couldn't tell you anybody's name that in high school.
Yeah.
I had really no friends there. There's a couple of people I could, but for the most part, there really weren't people that hung out with me. And I have no desire. It'd be like, hey, we're having a 50th anniversary for everybody that served in prison.
Yeah.
You want to go back and see your prison mates you spent years with?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
And all the guys that I hung out with never went to any of the reunions. So when I went back for my 40th, I recognized a few people, but none of the guys were, you really hang out and you spend time with. They just
all my
they
friends,
didn't go,
I
so.
maintain the people I want to talk to, or the people that want to talk to me. We don't need a high school reunion. We don't need something to bring us together. Either we're already friends anyway. If I didn't want to talk to you for the last 50 years, don't really want to talk to you today. Let alone spend all that money to fly out there, get a hotel.
Ryan says you guys should have a
lose weight
talk.
and look good.
Ryan says you guys should have a talk show. I would watch it.
Ryan with $2 again. Yeah, you should. We should have. This is a talk show.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Ryan. Having lived alone for about the last 20 years, it's I end up talking to myself. Who said that? Leave me alone. Don't bother me. So, yeah. It's only when I'm here.
I never talk to myself.
Yeah. I don't believe you. All right.
Hey, I'm not around. Do I make any noise? Nobody's here?
Yeah.
It's just three of me, right? There's me, myself, and
I.
So when I'm talking to myself, there's two other people, isn't there? Plus the neighbors and Microsoft.
Yeah.
And the government.
What do we got last? That big Windows update that takes so long? Yeah.
That's the big cumulative one.
The one. Yeah.
I make a screen big so Mitch and I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually after 74.
Well, it's downloading it. It's not installing it.
Oh, that's right.
So it's got to download it first, and then once it downloads it, then it can install. Then we can reboot, and then we can run Uncle Kerry's Windows 10 Optimizer, and then we can put Crystal Disk Mark on it. I could load the Samsung Magician, and we can run those tests, and then we can wrap up today's video. And then during, while I'm not on camera, I'll get the Q-tips and clean up that Train PC so it'll be ready for its close-ups. It's still pretty dusty.
The big leaf blower, take it outside.
I don't think the leaf blower is going to help it at this point. It needs to be wiped down. That dust is, there's still maybe the coal car attached. We haven't sprayed that one out.
Right.
No, we did that. We didn't do the train.
Yeah.
So the inside of the train is probably dusty as well. And there's so many little nooks and crannies. And at least in Scotland, you shouldn't have a problem with dust. Right? It's always raining there. So. All right, so we're getting there on this. And again, any questions for Mitch or I, any technical questions, please, this is the time to ask. We do these live videos so that we can interact with you. Mike Budukowitz said his 50th reunion's coming up in October. He's not going, and he says he agrees with Kerry. Yeah, high school just wasn't... Larry says, yeah, I just verified I've got the BIOS with F4. So again, erase it, reformat the drive again, or try a different flash drive as well. Re-download it, re-extract it, re-copy it, just in case there's any corruption in that file. Shamim says, Kerry, if I want to change my all-in-one to an air cooler, can I reuse the fans of the all-in-one as intake fans? Absolutely, yes. Patrick Russos, Kerry, take the power supply out of the train and give it a shower. No. No, the power supply should be fairly dust-free because it's vertically mounted, and the only part of it exposed is just where the air comes out. So there's really no way for any dust to have gotten inside of it. There will be dust, on the other hand, likely inside of the train itself, but even that should be very minimal. And I'm hoping that power supply is okay. It's, I think, just 450 watts, but I think we'll be okay on this build. This probably isn't even using 200 watts at the most. But I'll have to just double check all that. But I won't put anything in the Train PC until we have the cameras on and we can film it. I just want to make sure that the case is in a condition to be filmed, which it is not right now. And this will be a two-parter. And maybe I can get it done before I leave for Michigan. I don't know, it's going to be a tough one. But I'm going to try and get it out to you before the third week of September if I can.
Oh, and I may have to bring over that desktop that had the Google Chrome was doing the not responding. It's not responding again.
Okay.
And so it just, not that that would be a show chat, but it's just, I've had it. Every couple hours it freezes to control whatever, delete.
It's almost always an extension.
Yeah, task manager. So Yeah, because I think when I had it here, we ran the mem test, but we didn't run it all the way through because, you know, that would have taken.
It's not likely a memory crash
but you don't
that's
think,
causing it.
so
In most cases, that's caused by an extension on Chrome that you've installed, an ad blocker or something. That more times than not is the cause of that.
Okay.
So you could start up Chrome without any of the extensions,
Okay.
or just go into your Chrome settings and turn all the extensions off and shut it
try it?
completely
Yeah.
down.
Okay.
Well, close out Chrome and then reopen
Yeah.
it again, and then see if that might be.
And then, like you said, you delete the history and then
clear
then
the
the
history,
cache, whatever the
clear
cache
everything
thing
on it.
out. Yeah.
And then hit About Chrome, Help and About, and make sure you've got the latest version installed.
So it's just it's a little irritant. I mean, again, versus anything. But I'm like, and then one of the things that I read, just uninstall that version of Chrome and go get, you know, go get a clean one.
Yeah.
And just maybe then you won't have the problem. So maybe
that's
something.
that's a great.
So I'm like, okay, all right, I guess I could do that. Yeah, just uninstall it. There's nothing like a fresh, whether it's a fresh Windows install or maybe a fresh Chrome. Boom, it's there, and
well, it's definitely part of the process.
Yeah.
Problems like that can be very difficult because they tend to be intermittent.
Yeah.
And then you just have to wait and see if they just don't come back again. After a certain amount of time, if it doesn't come back, we can assume we fixed it. But, you know, I don't know, is that happening multiple times a day or once a week?
Yeah, it's multiple times a day.
Okay. All right, we are getting there. We are getting there.
Is it a connection problem? Probably not with my Cox Gigablast. It's always rock solid. Somebody once said, I don't know whether I do it anyways, that every couple of weeks you should unplug your modem.
I wouldn't do that every couple of weeks, maybe twice a year or something.
Okay.
Or if we have a big storm like this, and it's like the forecast is clear, yeah, maybe go ahead and unplug the switch, the router. Let it all sort of drain for about 2-3 minutes,
and then
plug it all back in again, and then give it 2 or 3 minutes to reinitialize and resynchronize. Could it be a heat problem? Not likely. If it's only affecting Google Chrome, then it's consistently not affecting anything else. It doesn't seem to be heat related.
It's on my birthday build.
It's pretty rare in my career that I've ever encountered a heat problem. But the way people on the internet talk, you think that that's a problem universally. Everybody's trying to battle, and yet I can't tell you a single computer I have ever fixed that's problem was heat related. I mean, there's got to be one somewhere in the last 30 some odd years, but nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, on that birthday build.
So rare.
Yeah, I've got 2 120 fans up front, a big Mugen on the CPU, and then actually a rear case fan.
Is this the big white and black computer?
No, it's the black one, Corsair 250. 450 Di.
Oh,
that we built. Yeah.
All right.
Which is my main desktop. So
Dr. Bill says Microsoft Edge has a new update today. Well, I'll check messages before we wrap it up for today.
Sarge Tech, for Mitch, what did the traffic light say to the motorist at the intersection? Don't look at me, I'm changing. That's a good one.
Okay, I think that catches me up. Giudarni just sent $20. Right on, Giudarni. Thank you for that. He should be getting his computer next week.
Nice.
And Giudarni says, he's got a picture of New York City's Metro card. He says, check your messages on your phone. He sends me a message on my phone to tell me to check the messages on my phone. He says, here's a $20 contribution for today's live stream. No excuses. You get Metro cards. Get on the train. Oh, it's for the train. I see what he did. Very clever. Why can't you be clever like that?
Yeah. You ever been to the Big Apple?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, being born and raised in Detroit, a lot of relatives in New York and, of course, Florida, where they retired. And then just as an adult, I went there back around 2010. No, it had to be before 2010. 2003, 2002. I was in Manhattan, Bronx, Times Square. Yeah. So for about, I was meeting the publisher of my book there, and just did the tourist thing.
Yep.
Went to the top of the Empire State Building.
Yep.
Went to Strawberry Fields, that little area there, across from the Dakota Hotel at Central Park, where John Lennon.
Yeah.
And then what else did I do? Eating off the hot dog carts and the pretzel carts and the hot nuts cart. Oh.
You didn't get over to Statue of Liberty?
No, I didn't go there. I did not go to Ground Zero, which at the time, was still there. So because everything's really far. So going from, say, Times Square to the Statue of Liberty or to the Empire State Building, it's like you got to jump on the subway. You got to go here. So yeah, I was kind of chewed out because I said, "Can we do that?" And they're like, "This stuff isn't like just right next to each other."
It's a lot of walking. I'll give you that.
Like, pick what you want to do, and then we'll do whatever's around that area. So, I had to try every pizza place I could as I could.
I had to eat at the deli where they shot When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, did you have what she's having?
Matzo ball soup, and you got to have hot pastrami, which was about that tall.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was an interesting documentary about that, the delicatessen, that real famous one. What was it called? With the they were like world renowned.
It wasn't Cats, with a K.
I'm sure somebody in the chat's going to tell me. No, not Cats. It was. Anyway, it turned out they got there was some embezzling going on. They were even stealing gas. Carnegie Deli.
And then one of them, you had to yell your order or they wouldn't take it. So
now look what's happening to our internet connection here.
That kind of made me laugh. Oh boy.
We're just now getting some issues with the internet. It looks like it's resolved itself, but thank goodness we're not trying 4K today. Because if it's struggling at 1080, and it seems like the download is taking a long time. So I think my internet's taking a beating today.
Yeah, that nasty weather out there.
Yeah, well, that's true. Who said Carnegie Deli? Sarge Tech. Yeah, that was it. Andy Kane said, "It's good to see you, Carrie and Mitch." Hey, Andy, thanks for hanging out with us. Chris Garrett says, "Carrie, sometimes my ISP router takes like 15 minutes. What, to boot up?" Says they move the configuration to cloud and can no longer access it by 192.168.1.1. Daniel Emberley says, "Do any computer builds for outdoor Arizona summer?" Do I do any computer builds for outdoor Arizona summer events? No, I wouldn't want to be outdoors in an Arizona summer, but when I first met Mitch, we did the Threadripper build, which was the first community-supported build I'd ever done, and Mitch volunteered to operate the camera for me, and we were right at the end of winter, the beginning of spring, and it was a great time. I took a table outside.
It was either the end of April or where it was just
I think it was the end of April where the weather was great.
Gorgeous.
And I just thought to myself, you never see people build computers outdoors. So I want to build it outdoors. Clearly, we're going to have great lighting.
Yeah.
And I had 3 cameras set up, and I just had Mitch controlling the cameras and getting the close-ups. And that was the first time I even met him in person, I think.
Yeah. But after that day, the weather turned. It started heat.
We did it just in time.
That was kind of the last day where it was 70. It was beautiful out there, and so.
How old is the streaming PC on the desk? That was my birthday build I did 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's an i9 9900KS processor in a Fantex Enthoo case. with 32 gigs or 64 gigs of RAM, a 2 terabyte Samsung 970 EVO. It's a rocket ship, and it's got a RTX 3070 in there.
And then is that an all-in-one cooler with the with the
that's
circle?
the NZXT Kraken Z63.
And that's been running fluid in it about 3 years?
Yeah, yeah. You get about an average of 5 out of them.
Okay, yeah.
These more expensive ones, I'm hoping, and
Yeah.
going to get longer than the normal, but I probably will end up retiring it and rebuilding it just because it's me, even though it's way more than enough power for what we're doing. I mean, if you look at OBS, look at our processor usage. Can you see what that says?
Yeah, 1%.
Yeah. Well, 0.9% of our CPU is what's being used in OBS to process this. So and now it's 0.8. Sometimes it'll go all the way up to 5% if we do a lot of layering of images on top of images, but it's way overkill for streaming. And I'll probably maintain it as always being overkill. I've got a 3090 Ti, and I think I'm going to put that in the 12th gen build I talked about, 12900K, and probably use the same cooler, maybe a newer one, just a fresh cooler. Or maybe I'll reuse that one. I mean, I don't know.
It's been working great. Rock solid.
Yeah, just kind of depends what I do with the old board. Since that board is fully fine, fully functional, you know, to sell it and then help whatever I can get out of it pay for the upgrade that I don't need. But I'll probably do that after the return from Michigan, sometime November, I would guess. Do I still have the Beast? The Beast was sold to Doug Betts over at Live Windows Training with Doug Betts' YouTube channel, and it's on Showcase there every single day that he goes live, or which isn't every day, but multiple times a week when he goes live. That's this main machine that he's using, and yeah, thank goodness he bought that from me because that wasn't anything I wanted to ship. He drove out from Fresno, and together we lifted it and hauled it out there, and he's been having the time of his life with it. He's been making a lot of content with it, struggling, trying to figure some things out that he's sort of created, but I think it's what his full intention of buying it was to do exactly what he's doing with it.
Was there 12 or 13 fans? Or I think I lost count after
it was way more than that. I think it was 19. I mean, there were 2, 4, 6. I think there were 8 or 10 just on the front.
Yeah.
3 in the back. Plus the cooler, plus the mini PC, plus the CPU. I mean the power supply. There's 2 power supplies, each one with a fan. I think it was 19 fans, 3 on the cooler. Yeah. And a lot of cable management. DJ Lion says, how much is the PC on the table? So yeah, so this one, if you go on my YouTube channel here and just type in Carrie birthday build, should pull this build up. I think this was about $4,000 back then. But the cooler was like $250 all by itself. Doug Betts, his YouTube channel, it's Live Windows Training with Doug Betts, B-E-T-T-S. If you type in Doug Betts in YouTube search, it should pull his channel up. And if you type in the Beast build on my channel, so Kerry Holzman Beast, just look at the last video that we made on it. And Doug Betts and Mitch is here, the whole gang here.
We got a restart.
Yeah, it's about time. All right, that one took a while. All right, we're approaching 4 o'clock here, which keeps us right on time to do the reboot, the Uncle Kerry's optimization tool.
Samsung Magician.
I'll throw the Samsung Magician on it, and then we'll run Crystal Disk Mark and get some benchmark numbers on the read and write performance of the solid state drive, which is Gen 4 Samsung 980 Pro. Should be one of the fastest Gen 4s out there. So let's see if that holds up to be true, or maybe I've misconfigured something.
DDR5. This is the first build I've ever seen with it. So.
Yeah, it's not doing anything any differently though.
Yeah.
Any performance difference on anything less than a 12900K isn't really noticeable between DDR4 and 5. Now, as we move into the new Zen processors and the 13th gen Intel processors, DDR5 will become the new standard and the prices will continue to be much more affordable. And then we'll see the drop off of DDR4 get to a point where the amount of options you're going to have for DDR4 in the next 2 years are going to dwindle. And as they dwindle, the price is going to go up because supply and demand, right?
Boy,
They're going to be pushing DDR5, increasing manufacturing, which is going to reduce the cost. And all the new chips from Intel and AMD will all require that moving forward, starting with the new Ryzen processors and the 7000 series Ryzens and the 13th gen and onward with the Intel CPUs.
Boy, that boot up was fast.
Yeah, considering it still had to finish the update. Yep. All right, let me go full screen on our side here, and let's get rid of the search cartoons. And then the utilities flash drive. Let me go plug this in around here. Yeah, right there. So let's go to the File Explorer, over to the USB. Let's grab VLC on here. And while that's installing,
in about 3 seconds. Yeah.
Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Optimizer. We'll drag that over. And under PC testing software, copy CPU Z over here and Crystal Disk Mark Portable over here. And then I'll probably do the Prime 95 test on it, although I'm not expecting it to be. You know, it's not a system that's going to be designed to be pushed that hard, but I mean, I'm kind of curious what those results might be. The HW monitor program, we'll check that out as well. Samsung Magician software. Let's see, go over here, click finish on that. Kind of curious if the NVMe driver from Samsung is applicable here. Let's find out if it tells us. It might come back and say you don't have a compatible Samsung. Yeah. So no, the NVMe driver does not apply, but the Samsung Magician software still does. So let's get that installed real quick. Boy, I think we're going to end this right at 4 o'clock. Finish there. We don't see a big bold letter N here, so there's no new updates for firmware.
She's running cool.
And then we'll close that, and we'll run Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Optimizer next. This should happen relatively quickly here. And we can unplug the USB flash drive. Reboot, and then we'll run Crystal Disk Mark Portable and see what kind of numbers we're getting out of this Samsung 980 Pro.
What do you think? What
I want to see 6,800,
okay,
6,700 or better. Ideally 68, anything above 6800 on the sequential read. And then the writes will traditionally be a bit slower, but should be in the high-end 5s or low 6s. And if I get anything above that,
it's gravy.
Bonus.
It's gravy. Mm.
So Crystal Bismarck, 64-bit. I always use the portable version. You see I don't have to install anything that way. Let me drag this over to the left just to make sure our video isn't interrupting it. And we'll hit the all. And then don't mess around with the computer or it interferes with the accuracy of your test results. So we just want to be hands off and let the test be as accurate as possible.
Boy, you hit that on the
Well,
money.
hopefully it'll go up a little bit here. That's test 1 of 5.
Oh.
Well, it's at 3 of 5 now. 3 of 5. 4 of 5. It's gone up a little bit. There's test 5 of 5. Now we'll go ahead and do the entire series of all 8 tests. We've got about 7 minutes remaining before we're going to end today's broadcast. And thank you again to everybody who's contributed with the super chats. People who've become members of the channel, thank you for joining and becoming members. All my moderators, thanks you guys so much for your continued support and friendly kindness and friendship. Thank you to Mitch.
Yeah, it was great being here on Friday. I love little bills. I don't know why, but they're just, yeah, the little one that you gave me for my birthday, it's just, I like it.
You just
have it sit
with tiny.
Yes, it's sitting right on the desk.
Speaking of tiny, camera girl, thank you for doing the camera work.
You're welcome.
Close-ups, yeah.
Larry there in California contributed $20 via Super Chat. And he says, thanks for all your support and guidance as usual. Right on, Larry. Thank you. Marco says a Sabre Rocket Plus reads at 7129 and 6765. So that drive, I think, is also more money, and you don't get the Samsung Magician. Sabre doesn't have really a utility that's useful. I like Sabre drives, but in this case, sticking with the name brand Samsung, given that this is being shipped out of the country, and the actual difference in performance of what you're going to notice as a user between, let's say, 6800 and 7100 is going to result in fractions of milliseconds. So it's, you know, benchmark numbers in reality aren't making that much of a difference. This is certainly nothing to sneeze at. And Chris Garrett says, I want to take about a month drive out to California. Don't care about LA, just want to do I-40, visit the Grand Canyon, and maybe Las Vegas. Yeah, been there, done that a couple times.
Yeah. If you've never been to Vegas, yeah, you got to go once in your life. See it with your own eyes.
We're just getting ready now to do the write speed, the sequential write speed, and I'm kind of curious if I'm going to be close on my guesstimate for that one. Yeah, I wanted it over 5, so come on now. It's getting close to 5. Sort of splitting hairs when we get down to these numbers. We're right in that ballpark, so.
And that's a 2 terabytes, so that's got a lot of storage.
Marco says he's going to wait for both of us in Italy. All right, I expect a pizza waiting.
Spaghetti? I visited Rome and Venice with my dad, yeah. In July. Venice.
I haven't really left the United States. Canada, Caribbean.
Yeah.
U.S. Virgin Island for a layover. Puerto Rico. No, it wasn't U.S. Virgin, it was Puerto Rico. That's pretty much all I've ever been, apart from probably about 30 of the states. Our benchmark test is almost done on the drive. Like I said, it's falling within the ballpark of where I was expecting it to fall, so it's all configured correctly and good to go. We've got our Windows updates installed. I'll put the Intel driver updater on it. I'll activate Windows 10. I'll go buy a key from VIP CDK deals, 17 bucks. Activate that so it's out of the way. But we will save the actual installation of the hardware into the Train PC case. Maybe we'll do it next Friday. I'm not sure yet.
I did like your video on Office 2016. That you don't need a Microsoft account.
Yeah,
I
it's
did,
the last one that
and the bargain price
yeah, not only is
made it. Yeah, I mean, I'm like,
it's
whoa.
the cheapest one you can buy, and it
so-
doesn't require the Microsoft
Yeah.
account. And you're good until October 14th, 2025.
So that gives you,
Get 3 years.
yeah.
A little more than 3 years. Marco says he'll have all the pizza we can handle waiting for us in Italy. All right. Kevin Smith says, I think you would like the UK and Northern Ireland, Kerry. From everything I've seen about it, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Fred, I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
come home.
Ireland and Scotland definitely on my bucket list.
Jason Urbank said, I made a video that shows the throughput is half what relates to performance. It shows the latency is the spec that should be used for comparing, and it'll be on my channel. Well, you know, we all have different values of what we think, what we believe should be the important spec, right? But really what matters is the individual's concern. So when I'm building machines, generally speaking, I'm building machines for people who are trusting me to make the best decision for them with regards to performance, reliability, and cost. Very rarely does somebody say, there's no way, you know, here's a blank check. It has happened. It's pretty rare. So what I'm doing is I'm judging overall for the average computer user, not for people who would even understand what any of this means. So that's what they pay me to do. And I make sure that they're going to have something that's going to outperform anything they could buy for the similar amount of money that's pre-built by any manufacturer. You know, that would cost them significantly more money to get something from Dell or HP that would perform like, you know, the way this system is going to perform. And also that it's no proprietary parts. It's all industry standard. If they decide they don't like me or I fall off the face of the earth, they can literally hire any computer technician that, you know, that understands how computers are built. There's nothing unique or special about it that isn't something you can't just go and get at Best Buy or Amazon or Newegg. Unlike a lot of these built computers, the pre-built ones, they use a lot of proprietary components, and it can be maddening. Also, they're, in my experience, they're nowhere near as reliable. So we use the benchmarks we use as a way for home users to be able to download the free software and run the same to see how their systems compared to the ones that I'm building. And we use the same measurement across the board indefinitely, because the minute we change the benchmark, it renders all of our other benchmarks obsolete and meaningless to saying, well, how much faster is that than the one from 10 years ago? Overall, the more you spend, the faster it's going to go. It's no surprise that the new laptop they reviewed is better than the old version of that laptop they reviewed a year ago. Who would have thought the newer one's faster? So, excuse me, some of that is kind of obvious stuff, and it's technical minutia intended really for the people that are interested, which is very few actual computer owners are interested in that technical minutia. But for those of you who are, well, you know, you could certainly find like-minded people who appreciate tech minutia here on YouTube and elsewhere on the internet, of course, because where else would they be? But I think that's going to wrap it up for today for us. My thanks again to all of you for watching, to all of the contributors and members, again to Camera Girl, to Mitch.
Thank everyone for hanging with us today on this Freaky Friday.
And Peter Laycock,
Yeah.
of course, making today's video possible. And yeah, we're halfway through it, and we'll do the completion of installing it into the case. That gives me time, as I mentioned, to get the case cleaned and ready to be on camera. It's a little embarrassing the way it looks right now. It's been sort of neglected for about 5 or 6 years. So thanks again for watching. We will see you all again very, very soon. I want to, before I do this, let me fix my video. There we go. All right.
Pick a nice outro. Yeah.
I got to pick a nice one?
Yeah.
Let's see if I have any I haven't used in a while. We'll do, I don't even know what this one is anymore. It just says outro.
Okay.
This is one I used to use all the time.
Okay.
All right, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.
it.